Marshall Peak, Chapter 4490, They Don't Believe. In less than 3 days, the energy contained within the white jades and the black jades surrounding Yang Kai was completely exhausted. The spirit jades turned into dull and dim waste as a result. That was not all. Over 200 bottles of pills had also been cleanly devoured by him. In exchange, his cultivation rose from the first step Earthrealm to the third step Earthrealm. This outcome surprised him. He originally thought that he could increase his cultivation by 5 or 6 minor realms with so many cultivation resources, but in the end, he was unable to continue after reaching the third step Earthrealm. There were many reasons for this outcome. The heaven-devouring battle law was powerful indeed. As soon as Yang Kai activated this evil art, his body would turn into a bottomless hole that refined all the energy in the world for his own use. However, his body was unable to withstand the burden. It would not have been a problem for his 6-step open heaven realm body, but in the divine armament world, he was just a trivial earth realm master. His body was unable to digest the enormous amount of power pouring into his body in such a short period of time. Some of the energy was inadvertently wasted, but a larger portion of the energy was diverted to temper the physical quality of his body. That was why his cultivation only increased from the first step Earthrealm to the third step Earthrealm. With the improvement of his physique, his dragon vein was further stimulated. In turn, the power of his dragon vein further enhanced his physical quality. It was worth the effort and sacrifice. However, the improved strength of his physical body resulted in him needing more energy than ordinary to advance to the next realm. On another note, Yang Kai was starting to feel the drawbacks of cultivating the heaven-devouring battle law. Most people would suffer from a weak foundation if their cultivation improved too quickly, and a weak foundation would put them at risk of experiencing cultivation dissonance one day. Fortunately, he did not have such worries. His original cultivation was in the 6-step open heaven realm after all, so there was nothing to worry about since his comprehension and consolidation were already far above the mere earth realm. This was a drawback he could ignore. The more serious drawback was that the energy devoured by the heaven-devouring battle law was very complex and filled with impurities. This secret art was meant to devour all the energy in the world for one's own use, but it did not differentiate between what energy was useful and what was harmful. Everything was simply devoured altogether. Although he only started cultivating this secret art, he was already feeling the effects of this drawback. Surprisingly, the power of his dragon vein was slowly removing the impurities in his body and refining it into pure, useful energy. A sudden understanding washed over Yang Kai. It would seem that the heaven-devouring battle law could be cultivated as long as the impurities drawn into the body could be purged. I'm not sure if I can do that when I return to the 3000 worlds. If it's possible, then my speed when refining large amounts of cultivation resources will be increased significantly. I should find an opportunity to experiment in the future. Tianluo Hall's storehouse had now been emptied. There were a few remaining items that were valuable, but they were not beneficial for cultivation. Thus, Yang Kai stood up and walked out the door. A familiar figure stood outside the door, and when she heard movement, she quickly turned around and exclaimed in a mixture of shock and wonder, "Eldest senior brother, you really are here." The person who came was his little junior sister Wn Ying. The newly appointed palace master, Li Zhengqing, stood nearby and smiled when he heard those words. "Sir, young lady Ying came here to look for you, so this old master told her you were cultivating in retreat inside." Unfortunately, she did not believe this old master and nearly resorted to violence. He turned to look at Wn Ying. "How is it, young lady Ying? This old master did not deceive you, right?" A look of shame appeared on Wn Ying's face for a moment, but her embarrassment was quickly tossed to the back of her mind as she began shouting, "Eldest senior brother, what happened?" "Yesterday, many people from Tianluo Hall came to the sect to help with mining the Black Jade mine. Moreover, they claimed that you sent them there. Sect master and the 2 elders didn't know whether it was true or not." Yang Kai raised a hand and rubbed her head with a smile. "It's true, I sent them over. Things happened so quickly that I didn't have the time to report to honored master. Come, let's go back home. I'll explain the situation to honored master and the 2 elders myself." Turning around, he instructed Li Zhengqing, "Prepare the horses. Li Zhengqing quickly left to carry out his orders. Wen Yingying couldn't help feeling like she was in a dream when she saw Tian Luo Hall's newly appointed palace master acting so respectfully and deferentially to her eldest senior brother. Soon, Li Zhengqing personally led 2 horses over, and a short while later, Yang Kai and Wen Yingying headed straight for the mountain gates of Void Spirit Sword Sect. Meanwhile, Li Zhengqing watched Yang Kai's departure and secretly wiped away his cold sweat. When he turned around to check on the situation inside the storehouse, his vision turned dark and he nearly fainted at the sight. Half a day later, Yang Kai and Wen Yingying returned to the Master Sect. They went straight to the main conference hall to meet Su Chang Fa and the 2 elders. To their surprise, they saw many junior brothers and junior sisters gathered outside the hall in extreme wariness. They gave off the air of those preparing to give up their lives for their cause. On the other hand, an elderly man stood outside the main hall with a bitter smile. He was all alone and looked to be in a rather awkward position. Upon hearing movement, the elderly man turned around to look and immediately reacted as though he saw the arrival of his savior. He stepped forward to greet Yang Kai. "Sir, you're finally here." This elderly man was Tian Luo Hall's second elder. "What's going on?" Yang Kai's expression darkened. No matter how he looked at the situation, it seemed as though Void Spirit Sword Sect was prepared for battle. The second elder wiped at the cold sweat on his forehead and laughed dryly. "Sir, please understand. Your sect seems to believe that this old master is here to harm them, so they got into formation to stop us." Yang Kai was speechless. "Didn't you explain the situation to them?" The corners of the second elder's brow twitched. "I did. But they don't believe me. They stubbornly claim that this old master is up to no good. In order to appease your sect's disciples, this old master doesn't even dare to let a single servant remain by my side. However, they are still on guard." Yang Kai immediately understood the situation. After all, Tian Luo Hall's third elder was killed here no more than a few days ago. Anybody would assume that the second elder was here for revenge when he suddenly brought several hundred people here for no apparent reason. As for something as absurd as Tian Luo Hall submitting to Void Spirit Sword Sect, how could Su Chang Fa believe such words? If he didn't even have this bit of common sense after living for such a long time, then he would have been swallowed whole by others a long time ago. Therefore, this incident was not the fault of Tian Luo Hall's second elder. Yang Kai patted the second elder on the shoulder and said, "Wait here. I'll go in and talk to honored master." The second elder nodded in response. Eldest senior brother. When Yang Kai strode forward, a group of junior brothers and junior sisters respectfully cupped their fists in greeting. Although they were curious as to why their eldest senior brother was on such friendly terms with Tian Luo Hall's second elder, they did not ask any questions. Ever since Yang Kai turned the tides and rescued the sect from disaster, his position as the eldest senior brother in their hearts had been elevated to an unreachable level. "You've all worked hard," Yang Kai responded and continued forward along the path they opened up for him. A short while later, he entered the main hall and explained the situation to Su Chang Fa and the 2 elders. Su Chang Fa, Jiyu Kang Ning, and Hong Xiu were utterly dumbfounded by what they just heard. What happened over the past few days was too ridiculous to believe. When Yang Kai resolved the annihilation crisis looming over the sect, it was still possible to explain that incident away by saying that the ancestor had shown himself and bequeathed his legacy upon his descendant. But now, Tian Luo Hall had surrendered and became Void Spirit Sword Sect's Tian Luo Hall branch. "So, you're saying that Tian Luo Hall's second elder was not joking?" Su Chang Fa asked with a little uncertainty. Yang Kai replied, "How could he joke around about something like this? Rest assured, honored master. The entire Tian Luo Hall is now under my control. Don't we lack the manpower to mine the black jade lode? That's why this disciple took it upon himself to let them mine the black jade for us." Jiyu Kang Ning said, "And, Shu Wen Cheng agreed to cooperate so easily? He is not such an easygoing person. I didn't ask him. I made an example of him by killing him," Yang Kai declared with a calm and relaxed expression. Hong Xiu was flabbergasted. "Shu Wen Cheng is in the 9th step Earth realm. How can you possibly kill him?" All of a sudden, she seemed to recall something. "Did you use the true void sword chi again?" "You're worrying too much, second elder. The true void sword chi is an ultimate weapon. How could I possibly waste something like that on trash? This disciple killed Shu Wn Cheng with his own abilities. I've already inquired around previously. Shu Wn Cheng has done many atrocious things in his life, so his death isn't worth pitying. At the moment, Tian Luo Hall's palace master is Li Zhengqing. Su Chang Fa and the others looked at each other and wondered, if a ninth step Earth Realm master like Shu Wn Cheng is trash, then what does that make us? Although they did not dare to believe what Yang Kai was telling them, there was no other reasonable explanation for the situation in front of them. When several hundred people from Tian Luo Hall came marching here yesterday, they thought that death was inevitable. Who could have known that the other party would plunge directly into the Ash Mountain and leave only the second elder to communicate with them? Even so, Void Spirit Sword Sect was powerless against the other party. Tian Luo Hall's second elder was an 8th step Earth Realm master after all. If he wanted to harm Void Spirit Sword Sect, he would have taken action a long time ago. Seeing that Su Chang Fa and the others were still doubtful of the truth, Yang Kai turned his head to the side and called out, "Hey, you! The one standing outside. Come inside and explain." Tian Luo Hall's second elder. Actually, he should be regarded as the great elder now. Li Zhengqing had taken over as the palace master, so the second elder would naturally be promoted too. It was just that Yang Kai was uncertain how to address him and had not bothered to ask clearly either. Upon hearing Yang Kai's shout, the elderly man hurriedly walked in with a deep bow and an ingratiating smile. "Sir, this old master is Shiming Hui. What orders do you have for me?" Seeing his groveling attitude made Su Chang Fa and the others' eyes bulge in shock. This man was an 8th step Earth Realm master. 8th step Earth Realm masters rarely even bothered to glance at a person below them under normal circumstances. When had they ever behaved so obsequiously before? "Tell my honored master about the current situation in Tian Luo Hall," Yang Kai instructed. "Yes." Shiming Hui responded before he turned to face Su Chang Fa and the two elders sitting in the hall. Then, he spoke righteously. "The entire Tian Luo Hall admires Sir for his great character and virtue. Therefore, we decided to make a change and show our proper respect to him. From now onward, we will serve under him, come hell or high water." Yang Kai nodded in satisfaction and waved Shiming Hui away. "You can go now." "Yes." Shiming Hui retreated respectfully. Meanwhile, Su Chang Fa and the two elders stared down at Yang Kai from above with very complicated gazes. They seemed to have aged considerably in the blink of an eye, but they were mostly filled with excitement and gratification. After a long while, Su Chang Fa finally said, "Child, I'm not going to ask you how you did all of this. Since the ancestor passed his legacy inheritance down to you, it can only mean that you are the future hope of Void Spirit Sword Sect. It would now seem that the ancestor has very good eyes. Even so, you need to be more careful. Tian Luo Hall is much stronger than us after all. If you are not careful, you may get burned. This disciple understands. Please don't worry, honored master." Yang Kai nodded solemnly. "I'll leave the matters regarding the Black Jade Mine to you then." Su Chang Fa waved his hand to dismiss Yang Kai. It could be seen that the incidents today had been a huge shock to him. He needed some time to digest the overwhelming information he received today. Marshall Peak, Chapter 4491, World Principles Restriction. After a few more questions, Yang Kai was preparing to leave when he suddenly remembered something and turned around to ask, "By the way, honored master, did Roaring Tiger Sect send anything over?" Su Chang Fa shook his head, "No." Yang Kai gently nodded. "This disciple will take his leave." Outside the main hall, Yang Kai asked his junior brothers and junior sisters who were standing guard to stand down and return to their cultivation. Only Wn Yingying remained, and Shiming Hui quickly stepped forward to greet him. "Sir." Yang Kai walked ahead while asking Wn Yingying a question. "I asked two junior brothers to go down the mountain and buy some herbs a few days ago. Have they returned?" Wn Yingying replied, "Yes, but we didn't know what to do with the herbs they purchased, so we placed them all in your home, eldest senior brother." "Good," Yang Kai responded and led the two of them in the direction of his secluded home. A short while later, they arrived outside his house and Yang Kai asked Shiming Hui to wait for him before he entered with Wn Yingying. The main reason Yang Kai sent his 2 junior brothers down the mountain to buy some herbs was so that he could use them to produce some medicine for body tempering purposes. Void Spirit Sword sect was not only few in numbers, but the disciples also had very low cultivations. Even though he had taught them the modified version of the Void Spirit art, there would not be obvious results in a short time. In any case, cultivation was something that had to be done slowly and steadily. Using this body-tempering medicine to aid his junior brothers and junior sisters in their cultivation would also help to build a strong foundation for them. It was impossible for Yang Kai to continue doing something like this for the long term. Fortunately, Wn Ying was a good candidate. He could teach her about the methods to prepare the medicine. Inside the secluded home, Yang Kai skillfully separated and categorized various herbs. At the same time, he patiently explained the process to Wn Ying. It was a stroke of good fortune that she seemed talented in this regard. Although she had never been exposed to alchemy before, she quickly learned the skills under his patient explanation and tutelage. He taught her to prepare several medicines, and her performance was remarkable. Something like this could not be considered complicated, not even qualifying as true alchemy. It was simply mixing different herbs together in the correct proportions. When needed, they simply had to boil the herbs in water so that the medicinal efficacies would seep into the water. The disciples could then absorb the medicinal efficacies in the water while cultivating to strengthen their bodies. You can observe those within the sect to see if there are any junior brothers or junior sisters who are interested in alchemy. I will find an opportunity in the future to teach you all, Yang Kai casually said while instructing Wn Ying. The divine armament world also had alchemists, moreover, they held great status. It was just that a small sect like Void Spirit Sword sect had been too poor to raise an alchemist. The several dozen bottles of pills that he found in the storehouse previously were bought at a high cost from other places. Eldest senior brother, you also know alchemy, Wn Ying shouted in disbelief. To which Yang Kai just chuckled, as you know, the ancestor's legacy inheritance is in my possession. The ancestor knows many things. I'm just scratching the surface. Oh. She did not doubt his words at all. After confirming that Wn Ying had no issues with the proportions and methods of preparing the body-tempering medicine, Yang Kai immediately left the rest to her and walked out of his secluded home alone. Shi Minghui was still waiting outside and quickly approached Yang Kai when the latter appeared. Yang Kai swept a glance at Shi Minghui and asked nonchalantly, "How does Roaring Tiger sect compare with Tianluo Hall in terms of strength?" "The difference is not much," Shi Minghui replied respectfully. "The sect master of Roaring Tiger sect, Zhuangju He, is also in the 9th step Earth realm while their left and right protectors are in the 8th step Earth realm. There are also several elders in the 4th step Earth realm and above. But, this meager amount of power is nothing in front of you, sir. Are you planning to attack Roaring Tiger sect, sir?" He had personally witnessed the 9th step Earth realm master, Shu Wn Cheng, being killed in an instant by Yang Kai. Zhuangju He was not much different from Shu Wn Cheng in terms of strength, so how could he be Yang Kai's opponent? "They owe me something," Yang Kai snorted lightly. Wn Tian He had boldly claimed that he would return with a gift of apology that would satisfy Yang Kai the other day. So many days have passed since then, but there has been no sight of him. Did he think that he was easy to bully just because he was young? It's only right and proper to pay back one's debt. Shi Minghui's expression was righteous. "I'll be honest with you, sir. Wn Tian He of Roaring Tiger sect once contacted us. He was the one who told us about the third elder Zhon Bo Xiong's death and the appearance of the true Void Sword. This man is despicable and cunning. He clearly wanted to instigate a fight between Tianluo Hall and you so that Roaring Tiger sect could swoop in at the last moment to enjoy all the benefits." "Is that so?" The corner of Yang Kai's mouth lifted. "It's the truth," Shi Minghui vowed. Yang Kai pondered something for a moment before looking at Shi Minghui. "If I send you to deal with Roaring Tiger sect?" Shi Minghui's expression stiffened, and he gave a dry laugh. "Sir, please understand. Roaring Tiger sect has been operating for hundreds of years, so its foundation is very solid. Even if Tianluo Hall dispatched all our elites, it is unlikely that we will come out on top in their territory. Waste." Yang Kai looked livid. "If I have to do everything myself, Then what's the point of having you? Shi Minghui did not dare to make a single sound in response. Where is Roaring Tiger Sect headquarters? Lead the way. We'll set off right now, Yang Kai instructed. It just so happens that I've run out of cultivation resources, and the mining of the Black Jade mine will still need some time. It's not a bad idea to plunder Roaring Tiger Sect for resources. Besides, Roaring Tiger Sect will surely have many people. If I can rope them into mining for me, it will help to increase the efficiency. 2 men on horseback departed from Void Spirit Sword Sect soon after. 3 days later, Shi Minghui led hundreds of people to Void Spirit Sword Sect. The sect master of Roaring Tiger Sect, Zhuangju He, also met with Suchang Fa under Shi Minghui's leadership to announce that these people were here to help with the mining. Moreover, Roaring Tiger Sect had surrendered to Void Spirit Sword Sect and would be known as Void Spirit Sword Sect's Roaring Tiger Sect branch in the future. After the previous experience, Suchang Fa easily accepted this turn of events. Be that as it may, he still felt like he was experiencing a strange dream. How did the 2 largest great forces within the surrounding 1,000 kilometers suddenly become Void Spirit Sword Sect subordinates? Not to mention how hesitant and cautious Zhuangju he had been when he met me. I wonder why his face was bruised and swollen. Over 1,000 people had now poured into Ash Mountain, and a constant stream of black jades were being mined. It had to be said that these 1,000 people were not ordinary commoners either, as they were all cultivators whose strength ranged from the mortal realm to the earth realm. Their efficiency was naturally much higher than ordinary people. A few days later, Yang Kai returned from Roaring Tiger Sect. After devouring the abundant resources inside Roaring Tiger Sect storehouse, his cultivation had now reached the 5th step Earth Realm. It had to be said that the heaven-devouring battle law was simply heaven-defying. If not for this secret art, Yang Kai could not have had such a speedy cultivation rate. This heaven-defying evil art that he obtained from Wukong had greatly accelerated his growth in this world. Void Spirit Sword Sect was now the veritable overlord within a radius of 1,000 kilometers. The 2 strongest sects, namely Tianluo Hall and Roaring Tiger Sect, had already submitted to Void Spirit Sword Sect, so it was only natural that the remaining small fries could not do anything to change the situation. In any case, Yang Kai had no plans to cause trouble for those small great forces. On the contrary, these small great forces themselves could not hold back anymore. They did not know why Void Spirit Sword Sect rose up so suddenly or what attitude Void Spirit Sword Sect had towards others. Therefore, they quickly sent representatives to give their greetings and express their willingness to submit to Void Spirit Sword Sect in the future. Yang Kai was open to all those who came. These small great forces had no grudges against him, and they might not have many resources themselves, but each sect could always send some manpower over to help with the mining. In less than a month, there were more than 2,000 people working day and night on Ash Mountain. The number of black jades that were mined every single day ranged from 300 to over 1,000 pieces. Moreover, as the mine deepened, the number of black jades that could be mined in a day increased steadily. 80% of the mined black jades were delivered to Yang Kai's secluded home, leaving only 20% for the development of the sect. Even so, this amount was not enough to keep up with his consumption. The black jades were quickly swallowed up almost as soon as they entered his hands. 2 months later, Yang Kai's cultivation reached the 9th step Earth Realm. That was not all though, as the cultivation of the Void Spirit Sword Sect disciples also began to show progress. Although the increase in their strength was not that great, their physical strength had been enhanced to a remarkable degree. Aside from cultivating, Yang Kai spent his remaining time teaching Wn Ying and 2 other junior brothers alchemy. Void Spirit Sword Sect would surely have a high demand for pills in the future. Thus, it was necessary to train their own alchemists. Aside from Wn Ying, the other 2 junior brothers were disciples with some talent in alchemy whom Yang Kai recruited from the sect. It was just that Void Spirit Sword Sect was too few in number. He could not ask for too much and could only make the best of what he had. Even though the aptitudes of the other 2 might not be as great as Wn Ying, they were not bad. Unfortunately, as their cultivation was still low, they were unable to use their spirit chi for alchemy. Moreover, Void Spirit Sword Sect had no earth fire for them to use. Every time they performed alchemy, They had to use something called a radiant flamestone as their alchemy flame. This was the path that many new alchemists in the divine armament world had to take. It was fortunate that Void Spirit Sword Sect had the Black Jade Mine, otherwise, it would have been impossible to support Yang Kai's consumption. In addition, Roaring Tiger Sect and Tian Luo Hall operated many businesses. The profits from the various businesses were delivered directly to Yang Kai to satisfy his insatiable cultivation needs. Life might be a little difficult these days, but they managed to persevere. Yang Kai was teaching Wen Ying and the two junior brothers when a set of footsteps came from behind him. He remained seated and didn't bother to turn around. It wasn't until he finished what he needed to say that he finally addressed the person behind him. "What is it?" Shi Minghui stood behind Yang Kai and cupped his fist. "Sir, I've gotten news." "Oh, so quickly?" Yang Kai raised his eyebrow in surprise. "It was by luck," Shi Minghui replied. "In half a month, the heaven-grade alchemist Gao Xinpeng will be staying in Heavenly Martial City for 3 days. Before Gao Xinpeng became famous, he became indebted to Heavenly Martial City's City Lord. Not only is Heavenly Martial City's City Lord old and frail, but he is also reaching the end of his life expectancy. Gao Xinpeng will personally come and help him refine some life extension pills." Heavenly Martial City. Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. "How far is that?" "It will take 3 days to arrive by horse." Yang Kai nodded lightly at those words and instructed, "Make preparations. We will set off for Heavenly Martial City in 3 days to meet Gao Xinpeng." "Yes." Shi Minghui quickly replied and turned around to leave. Yang Kai issued a few more instructions to Wen Ying and the others before he entered the secluded room next door. The black jades that were mined today had been delivered. Aside from the 20% left behind, all the rest were here. There were as many as 700 pieces. Yang Kai sat down cross-legged and activated the heaven-devouring battle law to swallow them. However, even though he devoured all the black jades cleanly, he continued to show no signs of advancing into the heaven realm. It looks like this is the world principle's restriction of the divine armament world. If I want to advance into the heaven realm, I will really need the 10 revolutions clear heart pill. Martial Peak, Chapter 4492, Heavenly Martial City. With a secret art as heaven-defying as the heaven-devouring battle law, Yang Kai had already advanced into the 9th step Earth realm a month ago. He was only 1 step away from advancing into the heaven realm. However, he remained stagnant at this realm even though 1 month had passed since then. It was not that his cultivation resources weren't sufficient. He refined and devoured hundreds of black jades every day. After accumulating bit by bit for a whole month, this amount was extremely terrifying. It should have been enough to meet the advancement requirements a long time ago. It was not that his aptitude was lacking either. The identity given to him by the divine armament world might only have average abilities, but Yang Kai himself was a 6th-order open heaven realm master. Something like aptitude would not limit his progress in any way. When it came down to it, it seemed he was simply lacking a certain pill. In the divine armament world, it was not difficult to advance from the mortal realm to the earth realm. Anybody with adequate aptitude and sufficient cultivation resources could advance from the mortal realm to the earth realm as long as they put in enough effort. However, it was not as easy when it came to advancing from the earth realm to the heaven realm. One required the help of a pill known as the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill in order to succeed. Without that pill, one's efforts would be futile no matter how great their aptitude or cultivation resources were. Yang Kai originally wanted to borrow his many years of cultivation experience to force his way through this shackle, but to his dismay, he discovered that all his efforts were in vain after working hard for 1 month. His cultivation seemed to be bound firmly by shackles. Furthermore, the invisible chains vaguely felt like the principles of the heavenly way. It could be said that the divine armament world itself was preventing him from advancing into the heaven realm. Unless he had the strength to go against the entire divine armament world, there was no way he could break these shackles. Advancing from the earth realm to the heaven realm required the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill. On the other hand, advancing from the heaven realm to the spirit realm required the 100 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill. The former could only be refined by a heaven-grade alchemist, while the latter needed a spirit-grade alchemist. The 10 revolutions clear heart pill was a heaven-grade pill, while the 100 revolutions clear heart pill was a spirit-grade pill. Thanks to the memories from his divine armament world self, Yang Kai had long known that the status of alchemists was extremely high in this damned place. In fact, it was even higher than in any other world that he had ever known in the past. That was because alchemists were needed to refine both the 10 revolutions clear heart pill and the 100 revolutions clear heart pill. It could be said the advancement of a cultivator often depended on a tiny little pill. It was somewhat incomprehensible. In the outside world, many pills had the effects of aiding advancement and improving the success rate of breakthroughs. Be that as it may, it was never a necessary component. Even without those pills, there was hope for a cultivator to achieve a breakthrough by relying on their own efforts. However, that was impossible in the divine armament world. The 10 revolutions clear heart pill and the 100 revolutions clear heart pill were requirements for those standing at the peak of the earth realm and the heaven realm respectively. Consequently, the status of alchemists became absolutely unrivaled in this world. Not only were many masters willing to act as bodyguards for alchemists in the same realm as themselves, but they were also very proud of such deeds. While this was something that was inconceivable in the outside world, it was something very normal in the divine armament world. Yang Kai had very profound accomplishments in the alchemic Tao. All the heavenly Yuan seal stabilizing pills that were currently being consumed by Voidland's disciples when advancing into the open heaven realm came from his hands. Needless to say, he had handed this matter over to little senior sister Xia Ningchang and wondrous pill Great Emperor now. With his attainments in the alchemic Tao, refining a 10 revolutions clear heart pill was not difficult. If not for the limitations of his cultivation, even refining the 100 revolutions clear heart pills would not be a problem. The main issue was that he did not have the pill recipe. This was an extremely awkward problem. Void Spirit Sword Sect was a rundown sect in the divine armament world. It might have been glorious 1,000 years ago, but that glory was long since faded. They no longer had any alchemists in their sect, much less various rare pill recipes. Regardless of whether it was 10 revolutions clear heart pill or 100 revolutions clear heart pill, both were extremely valuable and they would never be sold to the general public. More importantly, the pill recipes of each alchemist were different, each one having slight variations and arrangements. However, all the results were ultimately the same. The clear heart pills refined by any alchemist would have the effect of helping cultivators break through to the next great realm. It was just that the subtle differences in their refining methods and materials would also result in slightly different effects. If Yang Kai wanted a 10 revolutions clear heart pill, then aside from refining one himself, he could only spend copious amounts of money to purchase it. Unfortunately, there were many cultivators in this world who were stuck at the peak of the earth realm and wanted to advance into the heaven realm. If nothing else, Roaring Tiger Sect Master Zhuangju He, Tian Luo Hall's former palace master Xu Wen Cheng and great elder Li Zhengqing had been stuck at the peak of the earth realm because they had no 10 revolutions clear heart pill. Both parties had once paid exorbitant prices for a heaven-grade alchemist to help them refine a 10 revolutions clear heart pill. However, that heaven-grade alchemist schedule was fully booked for years to come. Even though the heaven-grade alchemist accepted their luxurious gifts with no trace of politeness, there was a long waiting list before they could obtain their 10 revolutions clear heart pill. Zhuangju He had a 4-year wait before his turn for the heaven-grade alchemist to refine the 10 revolutions clear heart pill for him. On the other hand, Xu Wen Cheng was worse. He had to wait for 10 years. How could Yang Kai afford to wait for such a long time? Besides, a conservative estimate indicated that he would have to spend 100 years in the divine armament world. Running around on his own for such a long time would be too tiring. He would have to recruit some trustworthy people. Those in the earth realm were too weak while those in the heaven realm were just barely acceptable. Be that as it may, who would be willing to slave away for him without the temptation of the 10 revolutions clear heart pill? After thinking about it, Yang Kai felt that it was more secure to obtain this pill recipe for himself. As long as he could refine the 10 revolutions clear heart pill, he could easily obtain both cultivation resources and subordinates in the heaven realm. Unfortunately, The alchemists in the divine armament world were extremely respected. Each alchemist had a large group of guards around them, so he could not conspire against them. Thus, he had no choice but to think of a different method. Jiao Xinpeng was the heaven-grade alchemist who accepted Zhuangju his large payment but could only perform alchemy 4 years later. According to Zhuangju Jiao Xinpeng belonged to a great force known as the Profound Pill sect. This sect was built on the alchemic Tao and their inheritance had been passed down for countless years. There were as many masters in the sect as there were clouds, which not only included a large number of Heaven Realm masters, but also Spirit Realm masters. At present, the Profound Pill sect was one of the top 10 sects in the divine armament world. The main reason was that the sect master of the Profound Pill sect had won one of the 10 great divine armaments during the last divine armament tournament, the Medicine King Furnace. Originally, there were several sects in the divine armament world which dealt with alchemy. They used to compete with the Profound Pill sect on equal ground, but ever since the Medicine King Furnace came to the Profound Pill sect, the Profound Pill sect established its position as the top alchemy sect in one fell swoop. For the next 100 years, the Medicine King Furnace would bring overwhelming prosperity to Profound Pill sect, and it could be said to be at the peak of its power. Jiao Xinpeng was not only backed by a behemoth like Profound Pill sect, but he was also a heaven-grade alchemist himself. It could be said that his status was extremely noble. The truth was that Shiming Hui felt extremely uneasy about Yang Kai's intention to meet Jiao Xinpeng. Even so, Yang Kai had already made up his mind. There was nothing Shiming Hui could do to stop Yang Kai. 3 days later, 3 people set off from Void Spirit Sword sect on horseback and headed straight for Heavenly Martial City. Aside from Shiming Hui, there was also a female elder from Roaring Tiger sect who was traveling with Yang Kai. She was known as Du Yu. There was no saying what Zhuangju his intentions were, but Du Yu was as beautiful as a cherry blossom. Moreover, she had 2 majestic peaks, a soft and slender waist, and enchanting eyes. Even the way she spoke was very sweet and charming. Yang Kai was not bothered by this as he only asked Zhuangju to send somebody to accompany him to Heavenly Martial City. Zhuangju probably sent Du Yu here because he felt that a woman was easier to talk to. Heavenly Martial City was not located near Void Spirit Sword sect, but it was not far either. After traveling for just over 3 days, a majestic city suddenly appeared in front of them. Shiming Hui called out, "Sir, Heavenly Martial City is just ahead." Yang Kai lifted his head and looked at the sky. Then, he nodded, "Let's find a place to stay." Shiming Hui quickly said, "Rest assured, sir. This one has made arrangements in advance. Tian Luo Hall has property here." "Very good." Although Yang Kai was surprised that Tian Luo Hall had property here, he did not inquire any further. It didn't take long for the 3 of them to enter the city. Under Shiming Hui's guidance, they soon arrived in front of a shop. The shopkeeper immediately greeted them and arranged living quarters for them in the inner courtyard as soon as they stepped inside. There was another 10 days before Jiao Xinpeng was scheduled to arrive at Heavenly Martial City, so Yang Kai was not anxious. What he needed to figure out right now was how to meet Jiao Xinpeng and obtain the pill recipe for the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart pill from him. According to the information Yang Kai obtained, Jiao Xinpeng came here to refine life extension pills for Heavenly Martial City's city lord to whom he was indebted. When he arrived, Jiao Xinpeng would surely be welcomed into the city lord's mansion. The city lord himself was at the peak of the heaven realm and in addition, commanded a large number of masters. I will lose all chance of contact if he enters the city lord's mansion. Perhaps I can approach Heavenly Martial City's city lord and enter the city lord's mansion in advance to wait for his arrival. Yang Kai pondered for some time and a plan gradually forming in his mind. All of a sudden, a knock came from outside the door and he looked up reflexively. "Enter." The door opened and Du Yu walked in with a tray. She was dressed very lightly. Furthermore, there were several plates of exquisite dishes and a bottle of alcohol on the tray. Yang Kai couldn't help taking a second glance at the woman. The main reason was that she was very scantily dressed. Her clothes were as thin as gossamer and her chest and thighs exposed large patches of her snow-white skin. What's more, she seemed to have just gotten out of the bath. As soon as she walked into the room, a faint fragrance filled the air. Her hair that was not fully dry also gave her a stunning appearance. Seeming to notice Yang Kai's gaze, Du Yu lowered her head slightly and a red blush crept across her face as she sweetly announced, "Sir, it's time to eat." He nodded lightly. "Put it down over there." Du Yu placed the dishes on the table and personally poured him a glass of wine before she stood nearby with her hands hanging by her sides. "I don't need you to serve me here. Help me buy something instead," Yang Kai instructed. "What do you want this mistress to buy?" "First, bring me a brush and some paper." She made a sound in response and turned around to walk out again. Not long afterwards, she brought the brush and paper. Yang Kai wrote something down before he handed it back to her. Du Yu glanced at the paper and saw a list of herbs. Unable to recognize the names but still understanding what she had to do, she bowed elegantly. "This mistress will go and buy them now." Yang Kai had decided to bring 20% of the mining proceeds accumulated by Void Spirit Sword sect over the past 2 months on this trip in case he needed to purchase something. As a result, there were close to 10,000 pieces of black jade in his wallet. Judging from the current situation, his decision had been a wise one. Marshall Peak, Chapter 4493, Night Visit. The City Lord of Heavenly Marshall City was getting old and frail and would not live for much longer. Therefore, the reason for Gao Shinpeng's visit was to refine some life extension pills for him to extend his lifespan. Yang Kai had many pill recipes for longevity, and their effects were extraordinary. If he could refine just one of them, he could guarantee that Heavenly Marshall City's City Lord would regain his vitality in an instant and his lifespan would increase significantly as a result. The problem was that his pill recipes required extremely rare and valuable herbs. Leaving aside whether he could find them in the divine armament world, the chances of finding them in a small Heavenly Marshall City were slim to none. Besides, Yang Kai did not know anything about the life extension pills that Gao Shinpeng planned to refine or what kind of effects they had. But, if he could gain the trust of Heavenly Marshall City's City Lord, then he could enter the City Lord's mansion in advance. Under those circumstances, he was bound to run into Gao Shinpeng once the latter arrived. That was why Yang Kai planned to prepare some pills that would strengthen and regulate one's vitality. These pills were relatively easy to refine, and more importantly, the required herbs were not that rare. He should be able to find them in Heavenly Marshall City. If Heavenly Marshall City's City Lord consumed the pills that Yang Kai refined over the long term, living for a few additional years would not be an issue. The night passed peacefully and when dawn broke the next day, Du Yu returned with a large bundle of herbs. "Good work," Yang Kai nodded. She smiled. "It's an honor for this mistress to share your worries, sir. Do you need anything else?" "No, you can leave." "Yes." Du Yu retreated respectfully. Only then did Yang Kai take out a rudimentary and simple-looking alchemy furnace and several fiery red stones. This alchemy furnace was something he found in Void Spirit Sword Sect's storehouse. He did not know how many years it had been left there, but it was probably a relic left behind by one of the alchemists in the sect from several generations ago. There were quite a few of these alchemy furnaces in Void Spirit Sword Sect's storehouse in fact. Wen Ying and the 2 other disciples learning alchemy had also obtained one each. The fiery red stones were the radiant flame stones. Yang Kai had no alchemy flame of his own, and there was no earthfire to borrow here either, hence, he could only use the radiant flame stones for alchemy. The vitality pill that he planned to refine was not complicated. He would have easily succeeded in refining these pills in the outside world, but unfortunately, it would take some effort for him to refine them in this place. 2 days later, Yang Kai finished refining a bottle of vitality pills. These dark red pills were around the size of soybeans, and one small bottle contained 100 pills in total. Yang Kai summoned Shiming Hui and sent the latter to offer up 2 of the vitality pills to the City Lord's mansion. As long as the City Lord's mansion could verify the efficacy of the vitality pills, they would surely invite him over for a discussion. At that time, he could openly stay in the City Lord's mansion and wait for Gao Shinpeng to arrive. Contrary to his expectations, however, Shiming Hui vanished without a trace. Despite waiting for an entire day, Shiming Hui did not return, and no one appeared from the City Lord's mansion. Thus, Yang Kai faintly realized that something had gone wrong and instructed Du Yu to ask around for information. The outcome left him stunned. It would seem that women were indeed much easier to talk to, more so if the woman was as beautiful and well-endowed as Du Yu. She easily managed to obtain some clues even though the information from the City Lord's mansion was tightly guarded. According to what she learned, Shiming Hui had indeed offered up the vitality pills to the City Lord's mansion, but apparently, a problem arose during the testing of the pills. One of the Earth-grade alchemists in the City Lord's mansion declared that the vitality pills Shiming Hui brought with him were poison and accused Shiming Hui of trying to assassinate the City Lord. Therefore, Shiming Hui was captured on the spot and thrown into Heavenly Marshal City's dungeons. It was currently unknown whether he was dead or alive. Yang Kai was so furious that he burst out laughing. An emperor-grade alchemist like myself deigned to take the time and effort to refine those vitality pills. How dare they claim that they are poisonous? Yang Kai immediately felt the urge to storm straight into the City Lord's mansion with his sword drawn. Shiming Hui might have been subdued using rather unscrupulous means by him, but he had been a good subordinate for Yang Kai during this time. Yang Kai could not ignore the situation now that something had gone wrong. Moreover, seeing as nobody from the City Lord's mansion came searching for him, it was obvious that Shiming Hui had not revealed any information about them. Otherwise, the people from the City Lord's mansion would have come for him a long time ago. However, Yang Kai quickly suppressed the impulse to act. He had the nagging feeling that this matter was more complicated than it seemed on the surface. He seemed to have gotten involved in some sort of power struggle, which meant that Heavenly Marshal City's City Lord was likely not just on the verge of dying from old age. Hence, Yang Kai couldn't help feeling doubtful about the current situation. With his current abilities, charging straight into the City Lord's mansion was actually not difficult. The difficult part would be rescuing Shiming Hui. Yang Kai was confident that he could move about undetected if he infiltrated the City Lord's mansion, but it was different if Shiming Hui was added into the equation. There were many Heaven Realm Masters in Heavenly Marshal City after all. Not to mention, Heavenly Marshal City's City Lord himself was at the peak of the Heaven Realm. He also had the backing of Gao Shinpeng of Profound Pill Sect. It would not be beneficial for Yang Kai or Void Spirit Sword Sect if things got out of hand here. After pondering for some time, Yang Kai asked Du Yu to find a way to inquire about Shiming Hui's current condition. His main concern was to determine whether Shiming Hui was alive or dead. Meanwhile, he decided to wait until nightfall to infiltrate the City Lord's mansion. Du Yu accepted the orders and left. On the other hand, Yang Kai began making meticulous preparations. It was not until night fell that he changed into a set of black clothes, snuck out of his room, and headed straight for the City Lord's mansion. As he ran forward, Yang Kai felt exasperated in his heart. A noble Sixth Order Open Heaven Realm Master like him was acting like a thief in the divine armament world. It was nothing less than a disgrace. The perimeter of the City Lord's mansion was heavily guarded, to the point that even Heaven Realm Masters could only dream of sneaking into the building without anybody knowing. Nevertheless, these defenses were useless against Yang Kai. He concealed his aura and infiltrated the City Lord's mansion under the cover of the night, and it didn't take long for him to slip through the outer perimeter and reach the inner courtyard. The surroundings were quiet. From time to time, Yang Kai would pass by some patrolling cultivators or come across people talking in hushed voices. Unfortunately, their conversations held nothing of value. At first, he wandered around aimlessly. As he did not know where Heavenly Marshal City's City Lord was located, he could only search slowly. A short while later, Yang Kai quickly hid in the shadows of a rockery as he heard the pitter-pattering of light footsteps came from not far away. He snuck a glance in that direction and saw a luxuriously dressed woman walking along the corridor with several maidservants in tow. The woman had a gorgeous appearance, an ample bosom, and a slim figure. However, she had a cold and indifferent temperament. She walked straight into one of the palaces. Meanwhile, the maidservants accompanying her stopped outside and quietly stood there waiting. Yang Kai did not know the identity of the woman, but judging from the scene in front of him, her status in the City Lord's mansion was not low. Just as he was preparing to leave, he suddenly heard another set of heavy footsteps accompanied by an extremely ferocious aura. A Heaven Realm Master. Yang Kai's eyes narrowed. Even though there was no spirit chi fluctuation around the other party, he could clearly sense that this person was in the Heaven Realm. This was his first time meeting a Heaven Realm Master since entering the Divine Armament world, thus, he couldn't help glancing in that direction curiously. The approaching person was a strong and burly man. He was short and stocky, and his muscles were quite bulky. Although Yang Kai was confident in the secret technique he was using to conceal his aura, he did not dare to act recklessly at such close distance. The other party had a much higher cultivation than him, so he only glanced briefly in that direction before he withdrew his gaze, lest the other party noticed him. The burly man walked straight to the door of the palace that the woman had entered earlier. The two maidservants by the door bowed elegantly in greeting. On the other hand, he simply pushed the door open and entered the room without saying a word. A short while later, some strange sounds came from within the room. It was a mixture of grunts and muffled moans. Yang Kai's expression turned black, and he took this opportunity to leave. An incense stick later, Yang Kai hid in the shadows and studied the majestic palace in front of him. There were guards stationed outside the palace and pained groans sounded faintly from within, giving off a sense of breathlessness similar to when a lamp was running out of oil. If my guess is correct, then this place is the residence of Heavenly Marshal City's City Lord. After searching for so long, he finally came across the right place. Before coming here, Yang Kai had been thinking about how to approach Heavenly Marshal City's City Lord and explain his intentions, as well as how to convince the City Lord about the efficacy of the vitality pills he refined. However, when he heard the sounds coming from within the palace, he realized that Heavenly Marshal City's City Lord was dying. The situation seemed to be more serious than what he had heard, as he could even detect a weak death chi coming from within. All the plans Yang Kai made earlier were now useless. He did not know when Heavenly Marshal City's City Lord would die, so he could not afford to hesitate any longer. Yang Kai found an opportunity and tossed a stone to distract the guards outside the door. With that, he successfully infiltrated the palace from a skylight on the roof. Inside a private room with a spacious area, Yang Kai unexpectedly found not a single person standing guard. There was only one person lying on top of a large bed, covered by a blanket. Moreover, this man was breathing weakly and would cough with great difficulty from time to time. The dim candlelight inside the room only illuminated a small portion of the room. Yang Kai looked down from above and saw that the man lying on the bed did not look very old. That man had the appearance of someone in his early 40s, but his sickly complexion made him seem deathly pale. Be that as it may, it could be seen that this man had good facial features and could be considered quite handsome. As Yang Kai was observing the situation, the man on the bed suddenly opened his eyes and stared straight at where he was hiding on the roof beam. The gaze might be a little turbid, but a piercing light flashed through those eyes at this moment. Yang Kai was shocked as he did not expect to be discovered so quickly when he had taken such pains to hide himself. Soon though, Yang Kai figured it was related to how he had been staring at the other party for such a long time. At the same time, it also went to show just how powerful the man on the bed was. It was rumored that Heavenly Marshal City's City Lord was at the peak of the Heaven Realm, only one step away from advancing into the Spirit Realm. It could be seen that he really lived up to his reputation. Even though his physical condition had deteriorated so badly, his perception was still extremely sharp. "Who are you?" The man on the bed spoke calmly, showing no intention of calling for help and simply asking this question quietly. Since Yang Kai had already been discovered, he couldn't be bothered to hide any longer. He landed lightly on the ground without making the slightest noise and walked over to the bed. Then, he tentatively asked, "City Lord Miao?" Heavenly Marshal City's City Lord had the surname Miao and the given name Hong. It was only natural that Yang Kai knew about such information. "It is this Miao. Who are you, little brother?" Miao Hong glanced at Yang Kai calmly. "Why did you come to visit the City Lord's mansion so late at night?" After confirming that this person was Miao Hong, Yang Kai cupped his fist. "Void Spirit Sword Sect, Yang Kai." "Void Spirit Sword Sect." Miao Hong frowned, as though recalling the information he received about Void Spirit Sword Sect. Void Spirit Sword Sect was just one of the small great forces nearby, so he never really paid much attention to such things. For that reason, he could not recall much information at such short notice. Thus, he frowned and asked, Void Spirit Sword Sect is far from Heavenly Martial City. Why did you come here? Are you here to kill me? Martial Peak, Chapter 4494, Nothing More Poisonous. Yang Kai laughed and said, There is no enmity between Void Spirit Sword Sect and Heavenly Martial City. You worry too much, City Lord Meow. Looks like this guy has many enemies, otherwise, he would not have asked me if I was here to kill him as soon as he saw me. After pausing for a moment, Yang Kai eventually continued, I'll be honest with you. I am an alchemist. When I heard that you were ill, City Lord, I decided to try refining some pills for you. I sent my subordinate to offer the pills to you as a sign of my sincerity, but to my dismay, the City Lord's mansion claimed that the pills I refined contained poison and captured my subordinate on the spot. You are an alchemist. Miao Hong glanced at Yang Kai in surprise. Yang Kai didn't just look young, he was young, probably no more than 17 or 18 years old. Having his cultivation at that age was surprising enough, so it was hard to believe that he was also an alchemist. It had to be said that alchemists were highly revered in the divine armament world, moreover, their inheritance was very strictly guarded. Not just anybody could become an alchemist. What grade of an alchemist are you? Miao Hong asked curiously. Earth grade. Yang Kai did not dare to say too much. In truth, his alchemy grade could not be categorized according to the standards of the divine armament world. If he had enough materials and adequate strength to persevere, even refining a spirit grade pill would be a simple task for him. Miao Hong originally showed some interest, but his expression immediately turned cold and a trace of displeasure entered his eyes when he heard what Yang Kai said. It was one thing to have such outstanding cultivation at such a young age. Somebody like that could be considered a talented individual, but an earth-grade alchemist. How could a young brat achieve something like that? It had to be said that Heavenly Martial City was a notable great force in its own right. Even so, they paid a huge fortune and spent hundreds of years just to nurture 2 earth-grade alchemists. It would take at least several dozen years of hard work to become an earth-grade alchemist. Little brother, this city lord has no idea why you came here. I don't have the mood to ask, let alone be bothered to care. Just go back to where you came from. After saying that, Miao Hong closed his eyes a little disinterested. Yang Kai was astonished and asked, You don't believe me, City Lord? Miao Hong replied coolly, There's nothing interesting about mocking a dying man. Yang Kai nodded lightly and took a good look at Hong Miao before he started speaking. If my guess is correct, your condition is not caused by old age but the relapse of an old injury. Isn't that right, City Lord? Miao Hong's tightly closed eyes opened slightly again, and he murmured approvingly, You have a good eye, little brother. How could you tell? The public only knew that he was dying of old age. They did not know that he was actually suffering from the relapse of an old injury. Yang Kai explained, You don't seem that old from your appearance, City Lord. Of course, when it comes to a master like you, your cultivation makes it hard to tell your actual age from your appearance alone. However, the vitality in your body has clearly not been exhausted, yet is still strangely weak. Moreover, you seem to have a different force surging inside your body. Miao Hong finally revealed a surprised look at those words, You can even tell that much. Yang Kai asked, City Lord Miao, if you can trust me, can you let me perform an examination on you? Miao Hong studied Yang Kai solemnly for a moment before he lightly said, There's nothing for a dying man to fear. You can take a look if you want, little brother. Yang Kai apologized for any offending actions and took Hong Miao's hand. Placing 2 fingers on Hong Miao's wrist, he probed Hong Miao's condition with his spirit qi. Hong Miao immediately noticed Yang Kai's true cultivation as soon as his spirit qi flowed into his body. This boy was actually at the peak of the Earth realm. Although Hong Miao had been fairly certain that Yang Kai was at least in the Earth realm after seeing him silently sneaking into this place, it wasn't until this moment that his speculations were confirmed. Not only was Yang Kai in the Earth realm, but he was at the peak of the Earth realm. He was only 1 step away from advancing into the Heaven realm. Little brother, how old are you? Miao Hong asked curiously. 18. I think, Yang Kai answered casually. In his memories, That was indeed the approximate age of this body in the divine armament world. Miao Hong smacked his lips in wonder, a true genius. It was unprecedented for anybody in the divine armament world to achieve such outstanding cultivation at such a young age. If there was a 10 revolutions clear heart pill on hand right now, Miao Hong was certain that Yang Kai could break through into the heaven realm in one go. An 18-year-old heaven realm master. Just how sensational is that? Although he never had much expectations for Void Spirit Sword Sect in the past, Miao Hong now had a vague feeling that the rise of Void Spirit Sword Sect was just around the corner. A short while later, Yang Kai retracted his hand. There is indeed a strange force in your body, City Lord. It is devouring your vitality. Miao Hong replied, I was injured in battle many years ago, and that energy has always been lurking inside my body. I can't get rid of this energy no matter how hard I try to dispel it. Since you are aware of this, do you have any good solutions to the problem, little brother? Yang Kai mulled over the question for a moment. I have both good news and bad news. Which would you like to hear first, City Lord? Tell me the bad news first. Miao Hong decided. City Lord, you have very little vitality remaining, and what little is left is rapidly fading away. If left untreated, you will die within 3 days. Miao Hong couldn't help snorting. That sounds like pretty good news. Yang Kai replied, I'm actually amazed you can still maintain consciousness, City Lord. Logically speaking, most people in Miao Hong's condition would have lost consciousness or become confused and disoriented. However, Miao Hong was still capable of speaking coherently. It could be seen that his willpower was extremely strong. What's the good news? Miao Hong asked. The good news is that I can help you extend your lifespan, City Lord Miao. You won't die so quickly, but to remove this energy from your body, Yang Kai shook his head slightly, I don't have enough strength. I'm afraid I can't help you with that. Miao Hong's eyes lit up, it's fine. You only need to help this City Lord stay alive for another 7 or 8 days. 7 or 8 days, Yang Kai calculated the time. That was probably when Gao Shinpeng would arrive at Heavenly Martial City. It looks like Miao Hong is staking his hopes on Gao Shinpeng. That was not surprising. Gao Shinpeng not only had a long history with Miao Hong, but he was also a heaven-grade alchemist. Compared to a person of unknown origins like Yang Kai, it was only natural for Miao Hong to trust Gao Shinpeng more. Going by this logic, it would seem that Gao Shinpeng was not coming here to refine life extension pills. He was probably coming here to help suppress the strange energy in Miao Hong's body. That's not a problem. Yang Kai nodded. Taking out the vitality pills he refined, he tipped 2 pills out of the bottle. These are the pills I refined personally. They can enhance and stimulate the vitality in your body, City Lord. They should help improve your condition. Miao Hong glanced at the soybean-sized pills in Yang Kai's hand, feeling uncertain whether he could trust Yang Kai. While Miao Hong was hesitating, Yang Kai's expression suddenly changed, somebody's coming. Miao Hong had also detected the approaching presence. He might be terminally ill, but his powerful cultivation was not just a decoration. Besides, the visitor had no intention of hiding their movements. There was no way he could not hear them coming. Hardening his resolve, Miao Hong sucked in a breath of air that drew up the 2 pills in Yang Kai's hand into his mouth. Yang Kai had no time to escape, so he could only leap back onto the roof beam where he had been hiding before. A short while later, the sound of light footsteps approached from a distance and soon arrived in front of the door. Greetings, madam. The voice of the guard at the door rang out. How is the City Lord? A cold voice sounded. It obviously belonged to this madam. The guard replied, same as usual. Open the door. I'm going to take a look. Immediately after that, there were some sounds and the door was opened. Moonlight spilled into the room and a slender figure stepped inside. Yang Kai looked down and couldn't help feeling startled. That was because the madam was somebody he had seen before. It was the woman he encountered while he was wandering around earlier. Their tryst ended so quickly. Yang Kai couldn't help muttering to himself in his heart. However, his expression soon became strange. The guard at the door called her madam. What kind of relationship does this woman have with Miao Hong? The only person in the City Lord's mansion with the right to be called madam is the city lord's wife. This, Yang Kai suddenly felt as though he had discovered a huge secret. Nevertheless, he was not sure whether his speculations were correct. It's possible that this woman is not Miao Hong's wife. But, if they are not husband and wife, then why is she here in the middle of the night? When Miao Hong spoke to Yang Kai earlier, his voice had been weak but he still had some energy. At this moment, however, he just lay motionless on the bed. His aura was faint and gloomy, almost as though he might die at any time. Husband, the woman came over to Miao Hong's side and sat down by the side of the bed, calling out to him softly. Yang Kai immediately knew this woman was really the city lord's wife. Lying on the bed, Miao Hong twisted with difficulty and tried his best to open his eyes to look at her. A low groan involuntarily came out of his mouth. Husband, your condition has gotten worse. The woman's beautiful brow was slightly wrinkled. Combined with her cold temperament, she seemed very pitiable. Looking at you in this condition breaks this mistress' heart. Yang Kai sighed in his heart when he heard those words. A married couple is devoted to each other for life after all. Even if this woman betrayed Miao Hong with her actions, it must be hard for her to see him in this condition. Before he could finish his thought though, he heard the woman's voice continue, "Why do you bother to struggle so hard? Why don't you just die here? Death ends all troubles. How much longer can you live in this condition anyway? 2 days. 3 days. A gurgling noise came out of Miao Hong's throat. There was no telling what he wanted to say. On the other hand, Yang Kai was completely flabbergasted. The woman smiled, and the dimly lit room suddenly became dazzling for a moment. Then, she leaned down and pushed her ample bosom into Miao Hong's face. She gently said, "Smell this. This mistress still has his scent on me. It's very fresh." Miao Hong probably could not breathe properly with her twin peaks in his face. His hands tried to push her away weakly, but his efforts were to no avail. Her laughter gradually became more sinister. "When you used such despicable means to snatch me from his arms back then, did you ever think that such a day would befall you? At this point, I'm not afraid to tell you this anymore. Our daughter is not yours. She is the product of Ku Yong and I." Those extremely vicious words came out of the mouth of this seemingly cold-tempered woman. If Yang Kai had not heard them with his own ears, he would never have believed it. He couldn't help thinking of the saying, "A wasp's stinger and the fangs of a poisonous snake's mouth were both venomous," but there was nothing more poisonous than a woman's heart. When Miao Hong spurted out a mouthful of blood, the city lord's wife deftly got up and stepped to the side to avoid being splattered by the filth. "Be bitch." His entire body shuddered, and he coughed up blood again. She stood by the side of the bed and looked at him coldly. It was not until his eyes rolled to the back of his head and he lost consciousness completely that she turned around and walked out. A short while later, her commanding voice came from outside the door. The city lord coughed up blood again. "Go in and clean it up." "Yes." Marshall Peak, Chapter 4495, Conspiracy. Half an hour later, Yang Kai leapt down from the roof beam once more and nimbly came to stand beside Miao Hong's bed. A faint stench of blood remained in the air, but the blood Miao Hong coughed up earlier had already been cleaned up by the guards. "I apologize for letting you see that, little brother." Miao Hong abruptly opened his eyes. Yang Kai jumped in fright. He thought that Miao Hong had fainted earlier, but it would now seem that Miao Hong was only pretending to be unconscious. Moreover, his tone of voice was so indifferent at this moment that Yang Kai couldn't help wondering whether he had always known that his wife was having an affair with another man. In any case, the city lord's wife was ruthless indeed. Miao Hong was already in this condition, but she still came over to specifically anger him. If it were anybody else, they might have died from rage just then. The fact that Miao Hong managed to survive showed that he was definitely a person who could endure pain, both physical and mental. Yang Kai couldn't help feeling amazed. Despite traveling across many worlds for so many years, he had never encountered something like this before. Be that as it may, this incident confirmed his previous conjecture. He had definitely gotten involved in a troublesome matter on this trip to Heavenly Marshall City. "Little brother, your pill is very effective," Miao Hong exclaimed approvingly. He could clearly feel his vitality recovering slowly. If he previously had the mentality that it couldn't hurt to give a dead horse medicine, He now had much more trust in Yang Kai. At this point, I'm sure you've guessed the truth. This city lord did not capture your subordinate who came here to offer medicine. Rather, it was the doing of others. They want this city lord dead. Yang Kai frowned. If that's the case, why don't they make a move against you directly? Given Miao Hong's current condition, he would probably be helpless to fight back if they attacked him. Miao Hong coldly snorted. If they make a move, they will leave behind too many traces. I have a friend who is coming to Heavenly Marshal City in a few days. Those people would not survive if he noticed any issues. Realization struck Yang Kai. He immediately understood why the city lord's wife ran here specially and used such vicious words to anger Miao Hong. It was all to aggravate his injuries and hasten his death. The friend that Miao Hong mentioned earlier was probably Gao Xin Peng. With the perception and experience of a heaven-grade alchemist, Gao Xin Peng would definitely notice if Miao Hong was murdered by somebody. On the other hand, there was nothing he could do if Miao Hong died of natural causes. Fortunately, the heavens never close off all paths. This city lord is thankful to have met you, little brother. Do you have more of the pills you gave me earlier, little brother? I do. Yang Kai nodded, but there's another problem. What problem? Yang Kai wrinkled his brow. I did not know about your current condition when I refined these pills, so I didn't consider something like this. These vitality pills will stimulate the vitality in your body after being consumed, but you also need to be supplemented with rich nutrients after taking them, otherwise, you will overdraw your remaining strength. Even if you can get through your current hardships, you will face endless troubles in the future. Miao Hong understood, so, that's how it is. He could tell that Yang Kai was not lying. Having consumed the vitality pills himself, he was the most aware of their effects on his body. After some consideration, he looked at Yang Kai earnestly. Little brother, I am afraid I must ask for your assistance. Can you help this city lord bring in some supplements for the next few days? With your skills, you won't have any trouble coming and going from this place as long as you're careful. If this city lord can survive this crisis, I will definitely reward you handsomely in the future. Yang Kai helplessly said, that seems to be the only way. He only wanted to come and investigate the situation in the city lord's mansion, but how could he have known that things would turn out like this? Yang Kai couldn't help feeling speechless. City Lord Miao, my subordinate is still locked up in your dungeon currently. I don't even know whether he is dead or alive. Yang Kai said after a pause. Miao Hong pondered in silence for a moment. I'll give you my faith token. Go and find a man named Huang Da. He is the deacon of the city lord's mansion. With his help, your subordinate will not be in danger. Although he was basically placed under house arrest by his own wife, Miao Hong still had some loyal subordinates under him. This deacon named Huang Da was probably one of them. While speaking, Miao Hong took out a jade token the size of his palm from under his pillow. Yang Kai took the jade token, which felt cool to the touch, and asked, City Lord Miao, if Huang Da asks about your condition. Miao Hong's eyes flashed. You can tell him the truth. Good. Afterwards, Miao Hong told Yang Kai how to find Huang Da's residence. Only then did Yang Kai take his leave. The city lord's mansion was not small. Fortunately, Yang Kai still had a faint recollection of the layout after his earlier exploration. With the help of Miao Hong's directions, he quickly found Huang Da's residence. It was only natural that their first meeting was laced with some misunderstanding. After Yang Kai revealed the faith token though, Huang Da became very emotional and asked about Miao Hong's condition. As such, Yang Kai explained everything to him. Huang Da was both pleased and surprised by the news. It was not until Yang Kai mentioned Shi Minghui that he finally realized that the latter was Yang Kai's subordinate. Don't worry. Your subordinate is only being locked up in the dungeons for the time being and is in no real danger. The city lord's mansion is currently facing troubled times with many people plotting in secret who do not want to raise any further fuss, so he won't be in danger until the dust of this huge incident settles. If anything unexpected happens, this old master will help to watch out for him, Huang Da promised. Many thanks, Deacon Huang. Yang Kai responded politely. After a busy night, it was almost morning by the time Yang Kai returned to his living quarters. A short while later, You came to greet him. Yang Kai handed her the note he prepared in advance and sent her to purchase some items. Miao Hong needed a large amount of nutrients to support his waning vitality. However, his body could not currently withstand the burden of strong supplements. Even his cultivation, which was at the peak of the heaven realm, could not help in this particular case. Therefore, Yang Kai needed to think of a gentler method. After some consideration, Yang Kai determined that preparing a medicinal soup was the safest option. You did not know what Yang Kai wanted these ingredients for, but her biggest merit was her obedience. It didn't take long before she returned after buying the listed items. In the meantime, Yang Kai casually asked about Ku Yong. Ku Yong was the man who had an affair with the city lord's wife. According to the city lord's wife, her daughter was the result of her affair with him. Ku Yong. You pondered for a moment, is so referring to Heavenly Marshal City's vice-city lord? I think he is in the 7th step or 8th step heaven realm. Yang Kai raised a brow at those words. It was not judgmental. He just felt that Miao Hong's life was quite pitiful. Yang Kai was busy all day, and when night fell, he secretly snuck into the city lord's mansion again, this time to deliver food to Miao Hong. The effects of the vitality pill were evident, and after finishing off a huge pot of medicinal soup, Miao Hong's complexion became noticeably rosier. He was full of praise for Yang Kai, complimenting him on being a promising young man. It was clear that he was trying to win Yang Kai over. After all, it was impossible to find another person in the divine armament world who not only stood at the peak of the Earth realm but was also an Earth-grade alchemist at such a young age. It would surely be helpful if he could win Yang Kai over. In the following days, Yang Kai would head to the city lord's mansion at night to deliver nutrient-rich tonics to Miao Hong in order to supplement the vitality pills he had provided. Miao Hong's condition improved by the day, but his underlying injuries did not heal. There was no saying exactly how much strength he could exert, so he continued to endure under these circumstances, and he would deliberately pretend to be dying whenever his wife came to visit him. The city lord's wife would visit every few nights, and each time she came, she would viciously provoke him until he coughed up blood before she left in satisfaction. On one occasion, Yang Kai was hiding on the roof beam when he saw the city lord's wife and Ku Yong visiting together. They kissed and flirted openly right in front of Miao Hong. This time around, Miao Hong was probably so angry that he passed out for real, as it took Yang Kai a lot of effort to wake him up again. On a certain day, Yang Kai was here to deliver the medicinal soup and vitality pills. After Miao Hong finished consuming both, he lay back on the bed and said, "Little brother, I need to ask you for a favor." Yang Kai put away the items he brought and said, "Please speak freely, City Lord Miao. I want you to go and welcome the heaven-grade alchemist of profound pill sect, Gao Xin Peng." Miao Hong panted for breath. According to the plan, alchemist Gao will arrive at Heavenly Marshal City in 3 days' time, but that cheating couple will not wait that long. You've seen the current situation over the past few days. They can't wait for me to die. If I'm still alive when Gao Xin Peng arrives, they will probably risk making a move directly. That's why I want you to meet alchemist Gao and ask him to hasten his arrival, preferably without allowing anyone to find out. Yang Kai smiled. "Don't worry, City Lord Miao. I've already taken care of this matter. There's no need to disturb alchemist Gao." Yang Kai had anticipated the situation that Miao Hong mentioned. Knowing that the city lord's wife and Ku Yong would become desperate, he had made preparations in advance. "Oh!" Miao Hong was surprised. "What have you arranged, little brother?" Yang Kai reached into his pocket, took out a small jade bottle, and tipped out a long and sized black pill from the bottle. "This is a turtle breath pill. City Lord Miao, you will fall into a kind of false death state after consuming this pill. Both your vitality and aura will be suppressed to the point that even those two will not be able to detect it." Miao Hong was extremely astonished. Taking the turtle breath pill from Yang Kai's hand, he asked a little hesitantly, "Is this pill really that effective? City Lord Miao, do you not trust me?" Miao Hong shook his head. "I might not have known you for long, but I can tell that you're a brave and righteous young man. If you really wanted to harm this city lord, you could have made your move a long time ago. Besides, you saved this city lord's life, so how can I not trust you? It's best if you can trust me, City Lord Miao." You don't need to worry either, as this turtle breath pill does not have any negative side effects. You just need to consume the antidote later and you will wake up within a quarter hour. Yang Kai paused for a moment. Besides, meeting Alchemist Gao now will only tip them off. They also know that Alchemist Gao is your only hope, City Lord Miao, so I'm sure they're already monitoring his approach. There's no saying what consequences we might face if we rashly contact him at this time. Miao Hong pondered for a moment and nodded. Your words make sense, little brother. Let's follow your plan. Yang Kai did not know how much Miao Hong trusted him, but it was clear that someone as stubborn and forbearing as Miao Hong would not be a kind man at heart. The betrayal of his closest confidant would surely have caused him to lose his trust in others. Nevertheless, he could probably sense that Yang Kai had no ill will towards him. Coupled with the fact that he had experienced Yang Kai's abilities over the past few days, it was reason enough to accept Yang Kai's suggestion. 2 nights later, Yang Kai hid on the roof beam and personally witnessed as the city lord's wife, Qin Yu Shuang, and Ku Yong angered Miao Hong so much that he spat up 3 liters of blood and died on the spot. Martial Peak, Chapter 4496, Gao Xin Peng. The sudden death of Heavenly Martial City's City Lord caused the entire city to mourn. Everybody knew that the City Lord was old and frail. It was public knowledge that he was reaching the end of his life expectancy. Even so, many people had trouble accepting the truth when this news was announced. Many shops and houses voluntarily hung white silk cloth above their doors to express their condolences to City Lord Miao Hong. Yang Kai stood beside the window on the 2nd floor of Tian Luo Hall's shop. Du Yu stood beside him. Following his gaze, she looked out the window but did not see anything unusual, so she asked curiously, "Sir, what are you looking at?" "A storm is coming," he said. Du Yu looked up at the sky where the scorching sun was obviously shining brightly and thought, "Is there something wrong with his eyes? Somebody might come looking for me later. Just let me know at the time." After saying that, Yang Kai returned to his room. He had handed the antidote for the turtle breath pill to Huang Da in advance. It was foreseeable that there would be a bloody battle at the City Lord's mansion, but Yang Kai had no plans to participate in something like that. It was enough for him to quietly wait here. The only thing that interested him was the heaven-grade alchemist, Gao Xin Peng, who was coming soon. The pill recipe for the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart pill was in that person's hands after all. Less than a day after Miao Hong's death, Gao Xin Peng arrived. A heaven-grade alchemist held an extremely high status in the divine armament world, so his arrival created a great sensation in the city and many people went to look at the excitement from afar. As a heaven-grade alchemist of profound pill sect, Gao Xin Peng was quickly welcomed into the City Lord's mansion. It was not until late at night that Du Yu suddenly knocked on Yang Kai's door. "Sir, a deacon from the City Lord's mansion named Huang Da is here to see you. Also, Shiming Hui is back." "Good," Yang Kai responded as he stood up and walked out. Huang Da stood waiting outside the shop, and Shiming Hui stood next to him, looking ashamed. When he saw Yang Kai, he quickly spoke with chagrin. This subordinate was incompetent. "Please punish me, sir." He was only supposed to offer up 2 pills, but he was captured and detained for 8 days instead. Even he felt that he was very incompetent. Nevertheless, it was exactly as Huang Da had mentioned before. The City Lord's mansion was facing troubled times, so the City Lord's wife, Qin Yu Shuang, and the Vice City Lord, Ku Yong, had no intention of causing further trouble. As a result, Shiming Hui was only captured and fortunately, was not subjected to torture. "It's not your fault. Go and have a good rest." Yang Kai waved Shiming Hui away and cupped his fist at Huang Da. "Deacon Huang." Huang Da returned the greeting. "You are too polite, little brother Yang. The City Lord sent this humble one here to invite you to the City Lord's mansion." Yang Kai had already expected this outcome, so he simply nodded. "Lead the way." Turning back, he called out to Du Yu, "Come with me." Du Yu quickly responded with a confused look. She clearly heard Huang Da saying that the City Lord had extended his invitation, but wasn't the City Lord dead? Did Heavenly Martial City obtain a new City Lord so quickly? Even though Yang Kai had gone in and out of the City Lord's mansion on numerous occasions, this was actually his first time walking in openly. Upon entering the premises, Du Yu was horrified. The guards around them were busy cleaning up the place as there were bloodstains that had not dried up all over the ground and traces of battle in many areas. It was obvious that a huge struggle had occurred in this place. However, she could not understand why people were killing each other in the city lord's mansion. Soon, the two of them arrived at a grand hall under Huang Die's leadership. This hall was brightly lit, but a bloody aura permeated the air. Heavenly Martial City's city lord, Miao Hong, sat majestically on the main seat. As soon as he saw Yang Kai, he laughed loudly and stood up in greeting. "Little brother, I was waiting for you. This Yang is reassured to see that you are safe, City Lord Miao." Yang Kai greeted warmly. "It's all thanks to you that this City Lord can stand here today. Come, come, come. Let me introduce you to an honored guest." While saying so, Miao Hong enthusiastically grabbed Yang Kai by the arm and led him into the hall. Yang Kai immediately saw the man sitting at the first seat on the left at a glance. There was nothing special about this man's appearance. Rather, he seemed extremely ordinary. He was dressed in pale blue robes and at this moment, he was looking over with an inquisitive gaze. Behind him stood a man and a woman. Their auras were concealed, but Yang Kai could clearly sense that they possessed horrifying strength. Similar to Miao Hong, these two were most likely masters at the peak of the heaven realm. At this moment, they were standing behind the seated man like bodyguards. Thus, Yang Kai immediately knew that this man was the target of his visit, heaven-grade alchemist, Gao Xinpeng. Sure enough, Miao Hong pointed at Gao Xinpeng and introduced them. "Little brother, this is alchemist Gao of Profound Pilsec." Yang Kai gently nodded. This junior has long admired senior Gao. Gao Xinpeng looked at Yang Kai with interest. On the other hand, the expressions of the two guards behind Gao Xinpeng turned cold and a chilly pressure loomed down on Yang Kai. The status of a heaven-grade alchemist was highly revered, so most people would bring large gifts and act worshipful. Nobody would ever act as open and aloof as Yang Kai. It was only natural that these two were unhappy with his conduct. Even Miao Hong was slightly surprised. It was just that he was not in the position to say anything, considering all the help that Yang Kai had given him. Thus, he simply chuckled and continued with the introductions. "Brother Gao, this is the one I mentioned to you before, little junior brother Yang. It's all thanks to little junior brother Yang's help that this Miao turned misfortune into great fortune in this situation. Like you, he is this Miao's savior." Gao Xinpeng nodded lightly and smiled. "I didn't quite dare to believe it when I first heard about you from the City Lord, but now that I see you, you are indeed a brave and talented young man. I've taken a look at both the vitality pills and the turtle breath pill you refined. Your methods are quite unusual but profound. Even the way you proportioned the herbs is very innovative. I gained a lot from studying those pills." "Are you an Earth-grade alchemist?" "Probably." Yang Kai smiled. Gao Xinpeng was stunned. "If you are, then you are. If you're not, then you're not. What do you mean by probably?" "Forget it. Seeing as you can refine those two pills, you definitely have the foundation of an Earth-grade alchemist. It looks like your master is not an ordinary person." As a heaven-grade alchemist, Gao Xinpeng was qualified enough to take no notice of Earth-grade alchemists, but Yang Kai was a little different. He was so young that his future was unlimited, otherwise, Gao Xinpeng would not have been this polite. Yang Kai casually replied, "Perhaps. It's just that the master who taught me alchemy has no origins, so I'm not too certain either." Gao Xinpeng nodded lightly. "There are many such hidden masters in the world. If possible, can you introduce us, little brother? I would like to meet your master." To teach a disciple like Yang Kai, this hidden alchemist was bound to be a heaven-grade alchemist or higher. Thus, he was qualified to discuss alchemy with Gao Xinpeng. Yang Kai slowly shook his head. "I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you, alchemist Gao. I won't hide the truth. My master only taught me for a few years when I was younger before he left. I've not heard from him since." As expected, Gao Xinpeng revealed a disappointed expression and sighed. "Is that so? What a pity." Miao Hong smiled by the side and said, "Let us sit and talk." After Yang Kai sat down, he finally continued, "Both of you are my saviors. If not for your help, this Miao Hong would have died a tragic death. Yang Kai had helped him to prolong his life, buying him time until Gao Shinpeng arrived. On the other hand, Gao Shinpeng brought two masters at the peak of the Heaven Realm with him to help clean out the traitors in the City Lord's mansion and regain authority over Heavenly Martial City. As for what happened to Ku Yong and the others, Yang Kai could not be bothered to ask. They most likely were met with a tragic end. In fact, Ku Yong might have contributed to the smell of blood in this very hall. Brother Gao and I have known each other for several dozen years and have a deep and inseparable friendship, so this City Lord won't bother offering his thanks. Gao Shinpeng chuckled. If not for your help back then, City Lord Miao, this Gao would not be standing here today. If you need help, this Gao will naturally come to your aid. Miao Hong nodded lightly and turned to look at Yang Kai. Little brother, we had not met until a few days ago, but you've already done a great kindness for me. This City Lord is extremely grateful. Besides, this City Lord promised to reward you handsomely. Little brother, do you have any wishes? If you do, please do not hold back. This City Lord will not refuse as long as it is within my means. It could be seen that he was in a jubilant mood. Moreover, it was a gesture of sincerity to speak of such matters in front of Gao Shinpeng. Yang Kai pondered for a moment before nodding. There is indeed something I'd like you to do for me, City Lord. Go ahead and speak freely. Miao Hong looked at Yang Kai with a smile. Yang Kai turned to look at Gao Shinpeng. I wish to compete with alchemist Gao in alchemy. The smile on Miao Hong's face stiffened while Gao Shinpeng looked surprised. As for the two bodyguards behind Gao Shinpeng, they shouted in unison, "How dare you!" Gao Shinpeng raised his hand slightly and looked at Yang Kai curiously. You want to compete with me in alchemy? Yes. I hope you will fulfill my wish, alchemist Gao. Yang Kai said seriously. Gao Shinpeng burst out laughing. You are an earth-grade alchemist while I am a heaven-grade alchemist. We are in different grades altogether. How can we compete? Yang Kai replied, I've never competed with other alchemists before, so I'm curious about the difference between myself and the others. It is a rare opportunity to encounter alchemist Gao, so I have a bit of an itch. Miao Hong spoke up from the side with a strange expression. Little brother, didn't your master tell you that a competition between alchemists is a very serious matter? Unless they have grievances against each other, they would never make such requests easily. Yang Kai was extremely astonished. Is there such an etiquette? He turned to look at Du Yu. Her complexion was ashen, but she nodded, yes. When she heard that Yang Kai wanted to compete against Gao Shinpeng in alchemy, she had been so frightened that she nearly fell to the ground weakly. Miao Hong burst into laughter and shook his head. Little brother, your actions are equivalent to pointing a sword at this Miao and declaring a battle to the death. Yang Kai was stunned. No wonder the two bodyguards behind Gao Shinpeng reacted so strongly. It seems that my request is no different from challenging Gao Shinpeng. Thank goodness Gao Shinpeng is not such a petty man, otherwise, we could have fallen out with each other right here and now. Yang Kai was ashamed and cupped his fist apologetically. It appears this Yang is truly ignorant and uninformed. Please forgive me, alchemist Gao. Gao Shinpeng laughed. It looks like your master did not tell you much about the taboos among alchemists. Yang Kai did not know what to say to that as he did not have a master to speak of. The only master he had in the divine armament world was the sect master of Void Spirit Sword sect. His random excuse was only to deal with Gao Shinpeng's questions. But, if I can't compete with Gao Shinpeng, then how am I going to get my hands on the pill recipe of the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart pill? Just as Yang Kai was feeling extremely conflicted, Gao Shinpeng suddenly spoke up. It's been a while since I've encountered something so interesting. Let's do this instead. We can exchange some pointers with each other. Martial Peak, Chapter 4497. I will prepare them myself. Really? Yang Kai raised his brow at those words. He thought that he would need to change his plans, but who could have known that Gao Shinpeng would agree to his request? It was an unexpected surprise. Gao Shinpeng smiled. It's just a friendly match. Since it's not a competition, it's not a big deal. Besides, this Gao is interested in your alchemy techniques. He was certainly an honest person who said what he was thinking. If he was not interested in Yang Kai's alchemy techniques, he would never have agreed to this request. After all, he was a heaven-grade alchemist. It was impossible for an earth-grade alchemist to surpass him in alchemy techniques. Miao Hong hesitated. Brother Gao, is this really all right? Gao Xin Peng smiled slightly. Why? Are you afraid that this Gao will bully the weak, City Lord? Miao Hong quickly waved his hands in denial. Brother Gao, you know that's not what I meant. It's just. Forget it. Since you've already agreed to this request, Brother Gao, this Miao won't say any more. I just hope that you know when to stop. Don't harm the peace. Of course, Gao Xin Peng turned to look at Yang Kai. Little brother, since you wanted to learn from me, I'll let you decide on the topic. What pill do you think we should refine? The 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill. Yang Kai immediately replied. Gao Xin Peng was slightly stunned. The 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill? Little brother, are you sure you want to refine the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill? Yang Kai said, I'm already at the peak of the Earth realm and I currently need a 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill to advance into the Heaven realm. After I complete this pill, I can also make the best use of the pill. Gao Xin Peng asked, Little brother, could it be that you're not aware? The 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill cannot be refined by those who are not in the Heaven realm. Why is that? Yang Kai furrowed his eyebrows. Gao Xin Peng explained, the spirit qi in Earthrealm Masters is not sufficient to support the refining of the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill. Only those in the Heaven realm can refine the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill. Seeing Yang Kai's ignorance, he couldn't help doubting whether the Vitality Pills and the Turtle Breath Pill were refined by Yang Kai. Yang Kai had never heard of such things before. Although the Divine Armament world had given him some memories along with an identity to move around in the world, he didn't know much of the common knowledge about the alchemic Tao here. Upon further consideration though, Yang Kai realized something. Cultivators needed the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill to advance from the Earth realm to the Heaven realm, but the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill could only be refined by those in the Heaven realm. If that was the case, then how did the first 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill come about? This question was similar to the question of which came first, the chicken or the egg. There was no answer. You won't have any advantages if we refine the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill. Why don't you change it to something else instead? Gao Xin Peng suggested. Yang Kai slowly shook his head. I am confident that I can refine the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill. Leaving aside the fact that the spirit qi in his body was much stronger than general Earthrealm Masters, his own accomplishments in the alchemic Tao were enough to allow him to figure out a solution when faced with various problems. His top priority was to obtain the pill recipe for the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill. Seeing Yang Kai's persistence, Gao Xin Peng became slightly annoyed. He felt as though Yang Kai was deliberately trying to show off in front of him. No matter how good-tempered he was still a highly revered heaven-grade alchemist. Nobody had ever been so presumptuous in front of him before. As a result, Gao Xin Peng's voice turned frosty and he declared, if you're so insistent, then we'll refine the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill. There was no denying that Yang Kai was extremely talented. He had heard from Miao Hong that Yang Kai was only 18 years old. Be that as it may, Yang Kai not only stood at the peak of the Earth realm but was also an Earth-grade alchemist. Such a person was incredibly outstanding in the Divine Armament world. His extraordinary talent must have made him arrogant. It might not be a bad thing for somebody like him to face some hardships in life. Gao Xin Peng quietly vowed to himself. I'm going to put him in his place during our alchemy exchange. I have to show him that there's always somebody better than him out there. Seeing that the two had come to an agreement, Miao Hong laughed. This Miao is very fortunate to be able to witness two alchemists competing with each other. What herbs do you need to prepare? This Miao will send somebody to purchase them immediately. Yang Kai immediately perked up his ears. How could he know what herbs he needed to refine the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill? All his hopes were pinned on Gao Xin Peng right now. All his efforts in Heavenly Martial City were only for this moment. A complete pill recipe not only included the list of herbs though, the refining steps, techniques, as well as the strength of the fire required was also needed. Nevertheless, it would be easier for him to deduce the pill recipe if he knew what kinds of herbs were needed. Gao Shinpeng smiled. There's no need to trouble you, City Lord Miao. This Gao will send his subordinate to purchase the necessary herbs. After saying that, he turned around to the two Heaven Realm bodyguards behind him and issued some instructions. The female Heaven Realm master immediately walked out. Yang Kai nearly spat out a mouthful of blood at the sight. Despite knowing that it would not be easy to get his hands on the pill recipe of the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill, the scene in front of him still made him exceptionally gloomy. No wonder they say that the pill recipe for the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill is an alchemist's greatest secret. Gao Shinpeng's actions were naturally to prevent others from learning what kind of herbs he used in this refinement process. But, if he was acting so secretive, then how was Yang Kai going to know what kinds of herbs were needed in the pill recipe? Miao Hong turned to look at Yang Kai, who forced out a smile. Many thanks for your concern, City Lord. I will also prepare my own herbs. Good. Miao Hong stopped insisting. It's getting late today and I'm sure the two of you have many preparations to make. In that case, let's do this tomorrow. When the two of you are ready, this Miao will open up the pill room so that you may compete to your heart's content. The City Lord's mansion was in turmoil today and many people had been killed and injured. Miao Hong himself had barely escaped from the jaws of death earlier, thus, he was dead tired after forcefully pushing his energy to the limits and talking so much. Even so, he made sure to personally arrange for Gao Shinpeng and Yang Kai's living quarters before he left to get some rest. That night, Yang Kai sighed and put on his familiar black robes. Instructing Du Yu to keep watch, he silently left on his own. In order to refine the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill, he had to know what kind of herbs Gao Shinpeng had purchased, therefore, he could only go out and investigate by himself. It was fortunate that he had been wandering around the City Lord's mansion recently and he had perfected his stealth techniques over the past few days. After a short search, he quickly found the place where Gao Shinpeng was staying. Concealing his aura, Yang Kai silently crouched beside the skylight and looked down into the room. There was a single flickering candle inside the room. Gao Shinpeng sat on the bed, seeming to be resting in meditation. There was no sight of the male bodyguard, so he was probably outside the door. Thus, Yang Kai breathed a quiet sigh of relief. Both of Gao Shinpeng's bodyguards were at the peak of the Heaven Realm and not people he could oppose right now. There was already a precedent of being discovered by Miao Hong previously, so Yang Kai did not know whether his presence would be discovered if he kept spying into the room. Therefore, the fact that the bodyguard was not inside the room was something to be celebrated. Although Gao Shinpeng was also in the Heaven Realm, his cultivation was not at the peak of the Heaven Realm. Besides, an alchemist like him would spend most of his energy on alchemy. Despite being a Heaven Realm master, he probably could not exert the strength corresponding to his cultivation. As long as Yang Kai was careful, he would not be discovered. After waiting for about an hour, Yang Kai suddenly heard the sound of footsteps entering the room. His spirits lifted, knowing that the female bodyguard had returned from buying the herbs. Sure enough, the female bodyguard knocked on the door and entered the room. She placed the bag in her hands on the table and cupped her fist. Sir, I've bought the herbs. Gao Shinpeng didn't even bother to open his eyes. Good. You may leave. Yes. The female bodyguard responded and respectfully took her leave. Yang Kai's gaze latched firmly upon that bag like a leech. He knew that all the herbs needed to refine the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill were inside. As long as Gao Shinpeng opened the bag to check the contents, he could get a glimpse of what he needed. And so he waited quietly. What made Yang Kai so depressed that he wanted to spit blood though, was that Gao Shinpeng continued to meditate without moving. Dawn was about to arrive, but Gao Shinpeng remained calm and peaceful. It was obvious that he was extremely confident in his subordinate's ability to carry out her duties. However, Yang Kai was waiting for Gao Shinpeng to open the bag. What am I supposed to do in this situation? Yang Kai was beginning to contemplate luring the two bodyguards and Gao Shinpeng away with some sort of trick in order to investigate the contents of the bag himself, but just as he was preparing to move, Gao Shinpeng, who had been sitting cross-legged all this while, finally roused from his meditation. Under Yang Kai's scrutinizing gaze, Gao Shinpeng got out of bed and boiled a pot of tea. While sipping slowly on his tea, he seemed to recall something and opened the bag, taking out all the herbs and checking them one by one. Seeing this, Yang Kai was tempted to summon the Azure Dragon Spear and stab Gao Shinpeng to death. Unfortunately, he knew that the idea was unrealistic, so instead, he quickly memorized all the quantities and the types of herbs. A short while later, Yang Kai quietly slipped away. He led Du Yu out of the City Lord's mansion and returned to Tian Luo Hall's shop. Taking all the black jades that he previously brought with him, he hurriedly rushed to the various medicine shops. When the sun was high up in the sky, everyone gathered at the pill room in the City Lord's mansion. Miao Hong personally opened the pill room, then he led Yang Kai and Gao Shinpeng inside, smilingly reporting, "This is the pill room of the City Lord's mansion. You can access the earth fire here. Of course, it cannot compare with your alchemy flame, brother Gao, but it is enough for the lowly alchemists in Heavenly Martial City." Gao Shinpeng nodded reservedly. Since this is a learning exchange with little junior brother Yang, it's only right for everybody to use the same alchemy tools. This is fine. He obviously did not wish to seem as though he was bullying the weak, otherwise, it would not be an honest victory even if he won. It was a symbol of fairness for both of them to use the same earth fire and alchemy furnaces in this place. Miao Hong personally explained to Gao Shinpeng and Yang Kai about how to use their spirit qi to draw upon the earth fire. Then, he asked the two of them to each find an alchemy furnace of similar standards. Only then did he stand to the side with a proud expression. As the witness of this competition, he was full of smiles. Although he was a master at the peak of the heaven realm, he rarely had the chance to observe heaven-grade alchemists like Gao Shinpeng personally performing alchemy. Under normal circumstances, the alchemy techniques of heaven-grade alchemists were absolutely confidential. Except for a few assistants, it was impossible for others to observe and emulate their actions from up close. Miao Hong had known Gao Shinpeng for decades, but he had never seen Gao Shinpeng refining pills. It was only natural that he was extremely interested in this matter. "If the two of you are ready, then this exchange competition can begin now." Miao Hong gestured. Gao Shinpeng nodded lightly. He opened his bag, took out the herbs, and arranged them by the side. Meanwhile, Yang Kai continued to activate his spirit qi and familiarize himself with the earth fire. The strength of the fire was extremely important in alchemy, so it was very important to familiarize himself with his new tools. Martial Peak, Chapter 4498, I have something to ask you. Needless to say, Yang Kai's main reason was to buy more time so that he could observe and emulate Gao Shinpeng's refining process. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible to obtain the secrets of the pill recipe just by observing an alchemist during the process of refining a pill. However, Yang Kai was not comparable with ordinary alchemists. His profound attainments in the alchemic Tao were his greatest capital. Besides, he had partially deduced the pill recipe in his mind while buying the herbs. At this point, he already had several ideas in mind. If there was a complete 10 revolutions clear heart pill in front of him right now to further supplement the information he received already, he was 60% confident that he could fully deduce the pill recipe. Naturally, this process would take a long time, possibly taking several months to several years to complete. On the other side, Gao Shinpeng finished arranging and preparing his herbs. He activated his spirit qi and stimulated the earth fire. Then, he skillfully placed herb after herb into the alchemy furnace to condense the medicinal liquid. In the meantime, he also glanced over to see what Yang Kai was doing. When he saw that Yang Kai was still getting familiarized with the earth fire, he couldn't help shaking his head slowly. He wondered whether he had been a little too hasty when he agreed to this competition, as Yang Kai's current performance was very disappointing. It was not until Gao Shinpeng had tempered most of his medicinal liquid that Yang Kai finally made a move. Under Yang Kai's instructions, Du Yu opened the bag they brought and took out the herbs one by one. Gao Shinpeng glanced over and couldn't help being startled. Even the earth fire below his alchemy furnace flickered for a moment. It was obvious that his mental state had been affected quite badly. He panicked for a moment and quickly controlled the alchemy flame again. The reason for his reaction was that he noticed the herbs Yang Kai brought were practically identical to what he took out earlier. Moreover, even the quantities were similar. This was very strange. Although the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill could be refined as long as one was a heaven-grade alchemist in the divine armament world, the pill recipe owned by each sect was bound to have subtle differences. The most obvious manifestation of these differences was the difference in the type of herbs. Naturally, the medicinal efficacies of different 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill also varied in strength. As one of the current top 10 sects in the divine armament world today, Profound Pill Sect boasted an impressive heritage and long-standing inheritance. The pill recipe for their 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill had thus undergone countless generations of improvements and modifications. Even if they dared not claim to be the best in the world, they would still rank among the top 3. Hence, it was impossible for the pill recipe mastered by other people or other alchemy sects to be identical to that of Profound Pill Sect. That was why Jiao Xinpeng was so shocked to see that the herbs Yang Kai brought out were almost identical to his own. On the other hand, Yang Kai looked up and nodded lightly at Jiao Xinpeng. He knew that Jiao Xinpeng was feeling suspicious. He had previously considered buying several extra portions of herbs to disguise his intentions. His main purpose in performing alchemy today was to imitate Jiao Xinpeng. By doing so, he could then deduce and perfect the pill recipe during the process. Those additional herbs would not only prove to be useless at the end of the refinement process, but they would also serve to highlight his guilty conscience instead. So, he decided against that method. Fortunately, Jiao Xinpeng said nothing even though he did not understand why the herbs that Yang Kai brought were so similar to his own. The only difference was in their quantities. He simply suppressed his doubts and decided to inquire about this matter after he finished the refinement process. As time passed, Yang Kai formed various hand seals that changed constantly. His spirit qi fluctuated wildly, and the earth fire he controlled also became stronger and weaker accordingly. Yang Kai looked like he had fully immersed himself in condensing his medicinal liquid, but in reality, he had separated a thread of his consciousness to observe Jiao Xinpeng's movements. He then mimicked all of Jiao Xinpeng's methods, though he did not copy everything exactly. His own attainments in the alchemic Tao were extremely deep, so even though he was imitating Jiao Xinpeng's refining process, the truth was that many different concepts would instantaneously appear in his head. This allowed Yang Kai to use his own special means to replace Jiao Xinpeng's secret alchemy techniques. Be that as it may, their alchemy refining process looked extremely similar. There was too little time and he needed to keep up with Jiao Xinpeng's various alchemy processes, so Yang Kai could not afford the time to conceal his actions too much. Even Miao Hong, who didn't know anything about alchemy, could tell that something was wrong from where he stood watching by the side. His gaze would flicker between Jiao Xinpeng and Yang Kai from time to time with a puzzled expression. With Miao Hong noticing something was off, there was obviously no fooling Jiao Xinpeng. Even though Yang Kai had tried to change things up as much as possible, Jiao Xinpeng could tell that Yang Kai's movements when refining the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill were performed at practically the same rhythm as himself, only slightly slower. This realization made his expression change subtly. At this point, Yang Kai could not be bothered to care so much anymore. Things had already progressed to this point, so he could only continue until the end. As long as he could completely observe and emulate Jiao Xinpeng's refining process, it would be a success. As more and more medicinal liquid was condensed at a steady rate, the temperature in the pill room increased accordingly. Jiao Xinpeng's expression remained unchanged. For a heaven-grade alchemist like him, refining the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill was not a difficult matter. All he needed to worry about was whether or not he could succeed in producing a pill at the end. In contrast, Yang Kai was drenched in sweat and his complexion was pale. It looked like the process was consuming a lot of his energy. He was not faking it either. Refining the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill required a considerable amount of spirit qi, and it was only now that he finally understood why Jiao Xinpeng had said that it was impossible to refine this pill unless one was in the heaven realm. The spirit qi in the body of an earth realm cultivator could not satisfy this level of consumption. Yang Kai was the only exception, as his heritage was incomparable to ordinary Earthrealm cultivators. That was why he managed to persevere until now. If it had been any other Earthrealm cultivator, their spirit chi would have been exhausted long ago. That was not all though, as he also needed to keep an eye on Jiao Shinpeng's situation at all times and prevent the other party from finding any flaws in his performance. The mental consumption was not small. Yang Kai was indeed rather tired, but his fatigue was not as severe as it seemed on the surface. Half a day later, both of their refining processes reached the final stages. Miao Hong's expression was filled with shock and amazement. At this stage of the refining process, the pill was almost formed. He never imagined that Yang Kai might actually be a heaven-grade alchemist. Even so, Yang Kai remained steady and did not make any mistakes. The only difference between him and Jiao Shinpeng was that his complexion was so pale that it was frightening. It would seem that refining the 10 revolutions clear heart pill with a cultivation in the Earthrealm was still a little too much. Nevertheless, this was enough to showcase his attainments in alchemy. All that was lacking was his cultivation. An 18-year-old young man who not only stood at the peak of the Earthrealm but was also very likely to be promoted to the Heaven Realm soon. Not to mention, he had the heritage of a heaven-grade alchemist. Such a person was absolutely terrifying. Miao Hong felt that he needed to reassess his opinion of Yang Kai. The status of a heaven-grade alchemist was enough to leave even him behind in the dust, not to mention that Yang Kai's cultivation was superb for his age as well. At this moment, Jiao Shinpeng suddenly reached his hand into his pocket and took out a clear bottle. The bottle contained an unknown substance that looked like some sort of viscous liquid. Opening the alchemy furnace, he uncorked the bottle and tipped the bottle slightly. A drop of amber liquid dripped into the alchemy furnace. Yang Kai's expression instantly became gloomy. After all the effort he went through to reach this point, he never imagined that Jiao Shinpeng would have a hidden ingredient. He had already figured out the necessary herbs and basic processes to refine the 10 revolutions clear heart pill. But what is inside that bottle? It was fortunate that his mental strength was still strong, otherwise, his alchemy furnace could have exploded on the spot if he was not careful. All he could do at this point was pray that the ingredient inside that bottle was not a necessary ingredient in the refining process. Otherwise, his attempt to refine the 10 revolutions clear heart pill would end in a failure. After Jiao Shinpeng dripped a drop of the unknown medicinal liquid into the alchemy furnace, he quickly began condensing his pill. It didn't take long before an unusual medicinal fragrance spilled out from within. Miao Hong became excited. He knew that Jiao Shinpeng was about to condense the pills. Success or failure would depend on this moment. Jiao Shinpeng was indeed worthy of being a veteran heaven-grade alchemist. Under the ever-changing hand seals he used, he executed a pill condensing technique and a soft sound immediately came from inside the alchemy furnace. Taking a small breath, he was in no rush to open the furnace. Instead, he looked up at Yang Kai and stared fixedly. Similarly, Yang Kai was about to condense his pills. His tense nerves slowly relaxed. He discovered that even without the unknown medicinal liquid, the 10 revolutions clear heart pill he refined were not affected. It would seem that the medicinal liquid Jiao Shinpeng added at the end was not a necessary one. When he reached the final stage to condense his pills, Yang Kai did not use his 9 heavens profound pill method, as this pill condensing technique was far too powerful for the divine armament world. Hence, he only used another pill condensing technique that was neither too good nor too bad. A series of clanging sounds rang out soon after and the medicinal fragrance in the pill room became denser than ever. Yang Kai's complexion was so pale that it was frightening. Pretending as though he was about to die, he stumbled and collapsed face-first towards the ground. Fortunately, Du Yu moved quickly and caught him before he fell, calling out anxiously, "Sir." Jiao Shinpeng hurried over and stated, "He is suffering from overconsumption. It should have been impossible for an Earthrealm master to refine a heaven-grade pill in the first place. I can't believe he actually did it. Hurry up and let him lie down." Du Yu laid Yang Kai down as she was told. Then, Jiao Shinpeng took out a pill and handed it to her and ordered, "Give this to him." She took the pill but hesitated slightly. On the other hand, Yang Kai just weakly said, Many thanks, Alchemist Gao. Gao Shinpeng waved his hand dismissively. Don't talk. Just focus on recovering. There's something I want to ask you after. Yang Kai sighed in his heart. He knew that Gao Shinpeng was very concerned about his performance earlier. Whether it was in terms of alchemy ingredients or the refinement process, he was being suspected of imitating Gao Shinpeng. Anybody who encountered something like this would probably be unable to get over it so easily. He secretly felt thankful that Gao Shinpeng was good-natured and did not kick up a fuss on the spot, but how was he supposed to explain this situation now? The current Void Spirit Sword sect could not afford to upset a heaven-grade alchemist. If he offended Gao Shinpeng here, he would probably suffer greatly in the future. After being fed the pill by Du Yu, Yang Kai's spirit chi quickly recovered. On the other side, Miao Hong walked over with 2 jade bottles in his hand and smilingly said, "This Miao has taken the initiative to collect the 10 revolutions clear heart pill that you two refined. This is what Brother Gao refined. There are 4 pills. 3 of them are mid-rank pills and 1 of them is a low-rank pill." He handed one of the jade bottles to Gao Shinpeng. Gao Shinpeng accepted the bottle without reservation. "This is what you refined, little brother." Miao Hong's eyes gleamed as he looked at Yang Kai. "You produced 1 low-rank pill." Marshall Peak, Chapter 4499, A Series of Strange Coincidences. Alchemist Gao, your skills are truly superb. This Yang is very lacking in comparison. I've learned a lot. Yang Kai cupped his fist slightly. Regardless of everything else, he had succeeded in secretly learning the pill recipe for the 10 revolutions clear heart pill, so it made no difference to him even if he admitted his loss in this competition. Besides, he deliberately made it so that he produced only 1 low-rank pill at the end. If he really put his mind to the task, it would have been impossible for him to produce such poor results even if it was his first time refining the 10 revolutions clear heart pill. Gao Shinpeng shook his head. This Gao was unable to refine a heaven-grade pill with the strength of an Earthrealm master. It is this Gao who is lacking. He turned to look at Miao Hong. "Brother Miao, please prepare a secret room. I need to have a good chat with little junior brother Yang." "No problem." Miao Hong immediately agreed. Yang Kai sighed in his heart. He knew that it might be a blessing and not a curse, but even if it was a curse, it couldn't be avoided. The traces of how Yang Kai had imitated Gao Shinpeng were far too obvious. Gao Shinpeng probably suspected something a long time ago. He probably did not ask anything earlier because he did not want to be distracted during the competition. Now that the competition was over though, it was only natural to get to the bottom of the matter. How should I explain this situation? Yang Kai was a little perplexed. I can't say that the pill recipe I obtained is identical to his. How can something so coincidental happen? But there is no other reasonable explanation otherwise. At this point, he could only take 1 step at a time. Gao Shinpeng did not look like a pedantic person. Furthermore, he was a heaven-grade alchemist. Yang Kai did not wish to have a falling out with him if possible. Miao Hong quickly prepared a quiet room and Gao Shinpeng and Yang Kai entered it with their entourages. Then, Gao Shinpeng turned to the 2 Heaven Realm bodyguards who had been following behind him all this while and said, "Leave us." "Sir," the female Heaven Realm master hesitated slightly. "Leave us," he instructed once more, in a firmer tone. Only then did the 2 bodyguards take their leave. Before they left, they shot a deep glare at Yang Kai, as if to say that they would immediately rush in and chop him into pieces if he dared to harm Gao Shinpeng. "You stand down too," Yang Kai ordered Du Yu. Du Yu said nothing in particular and respectfully left the room. As soon as the door closed, Gao Shinpeng and Yang Kai were the only ones left in the room. Gao Shinpeng stared fixedly at Yang Kai with a measuring look. The way he observed Yang Kai up and down was as though it was his first time getting to know him. Yang Kai was watched so keenly that he felt uncomfortable all over. Thus, he began mulling over how to end things later once the truth was exposed. There were 2 more sword chi attacks that he could activate in the true void sword, but those attacks were ridiculously overpowered. If he used the true void sword here, forget Gao Shinpeng, the entire City Lord's mansion would be razed to the ground. He neither wished to be pursued by Profound Pill Sect as a wanted man nor drag Void Spirit Sword Sect into his mess. Therefore, he could not use the true Void Sword Chi unless it was absolutely necessary. Little brother, do you know the identity of the master who taught you alchemy? What was his name? Just as Yang Kai's thoughts were bouncing around in his head, Jiao Shinpeng suddenly popped out this question. Yang Kai shook his head solemnly. Unfortunately, I don't. I'm sure you know that I'm a Void Spirit Sword Sect disciple, Alchemist Gao. Master came to Void Spirit Sword Sect, taught me alchemy for a few years, and then left to travel around the world again. From the start to the end, he never revealed his name. He casually responded to the question while thinking to himself, how would I know what my non-existent master is called? It's unrealistic to make up a name now. If Jiao Shinpeng decides to investigate, my secrets will quickly be discovered. I can only be as ambiguous as possible. Jiao Shinpeng raised his eyebrows. That senior. Why did he teach you alchemy? Yang Kai shook his head again. I was only 6 or 7 years old when my master taught me alchemy. I was too young at the time, so I don't remember much from back then. 6 or 7 years old, Jiao Shinpeng quietly made some calculations. So, this happened approximately 10 years ago. En. Do you remember how he looked? Jiao Shinpeng continued asking. Yang Kai was helpless and could only continue talking nonsense. I don't quite remember. I think he is quite old as his hair was graying. He also always wore a set of dirty clothes. Jiao Shinpeng's eyes immediately lit up at those words, frightening Yang Kai so much that he quickly said, as you know, I was very young back then. I don't remember much. I understand. I understand. Jiao Shinpeng nodded repeatedly. Think about it carefully. What other more specific special characteristics did your master have? More specific? Which aspect? Yang Kai was honestly at his wit's end by now. He no longer knew how to continue with his story. His hand. Jiao Shinpeng raised his left hand and waved his hand around in front of Yang Kai's face. Yang Kai was stunned for a moment before the realization struck him. Yes, there was something. I think he either had an extra finger or was missing a finger. An extra finger. Jiao Shinpeng's expression was serious. Yang Kai slapped his thigh. Yes, that's right. He had an extra finger. He didn't dare to say more. If he said anything else, he might end up exposing his own secrets. At this point, he had the vague feeling that this nonsensical master he created on the fly was an actual person. It was just that Jiao Shinpeng seemed to have misunderstood something. Therefore, he quickly tried to take control of the conversation by asking, Alchemist Jiao, do you know my master? Jiao Shinpeng breathed out lightly. Yang Kai could sense that the way Jiao Shinpeng looked at him had become much more cordial. Nodding lightly, Jiao Shinpeng replied, of course. How can I not know him? If that's the case, everything makes sense now. Yang Kai sat up straight. Please enlighten me, Alchemist Jiao. Jiao Shinpeng smilingly said, didn't you realize that the herbs you and I both needed to refine the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill, as well as the refining process and the steps are basically the same? Yang Kai was astonished. Is that so? Jiao Shinpeng nodded and explained, you were very focused on performing alchemy earlier, so you probably didn't have the time to observe your surroundings. However, I saw everything clearly. The pill recipe for the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill that you and I have is almost identical. This should have been impossible as there are countless pill recipes for the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill in the Divine Armament world. Moreover, each pill recipe will have subtle differences unless they come from the same sect. I was puzzled earlier and wondered why you had the pill recipe belonging to Profound Pill Sect, but everything makes sense now. Yang Kai pretended to humbly ask for advice. Jiao Shinpeng smiled. Do you still not understand? The one who taught you alchemy belongs to Profound Pill Sect. Yang Kai was genuinely shocked. I can't believe that the non-existent master I randomly created became related to Profound Pill Sect. This is quite a pleasant surprise. Alchemist Jiao. This, Yang Kai didn't know what to say. After careful consideration, he realized that the main reason for Jiao Shinpeng's speculation lay in the fact that their pill recipes were identical. As for the special characteristics of his fabricated master, half came from his imagination and the other half was guesswork thanks to Gao Shinpeng's guidance. Why are you still calling me alchemist, Gao? Gao Shinpeng looked at Yang Kai with a smile. It was said that great fortune brought wisdom, and Yang Kai's wits were keen thanks to the good luck that came to him. He stood up and cupped his fist. Greetings, senior brother Gao. Sit down and talk. Gao Shinpeng seemed even more amicable now. Yang Kai sat down as he was told, not knowing whether to laugh or to cry. He had been worried about what Gao Shinpeng would do to him, but things had taken such a sudden turn instead. By some unfathomable circumstances, he was now Gao Shinpeng's junior brother. Of course, it's hard to talk about the specifics since I have not met your master in person. It's only my speculation that you are the disciple of that person, but I'm quite certain that is the case. Only that person will, act in such a manner. The pill recipe for the 10 revolutions clear heart pill that you obtained is the best proof. In this world, there was nobody who could deduce a complete pill recipe just by observing and imitating another person performing alchemy once. That was why Gao Shinpeng never suspected Yang Kai of imitating his refinement process on the spot. From the beginning, he suspected that Yang Kai was a disciple taught by one of the wandering senior experts of Profound Pill Sect. His subsequent inquiry was only to confirm his speculation. Senior brother Gao, what kind of person is my master? Yang Kai took the opportunity to inquire more about his fabricated master. Otherwise, he might accidentally expose his own lies in the future. Gao Shinpeng pondered the question for a while before he gave a short and helpless laugh. That person. How do I put it? His manner of conduct is very eccentric. It's not something you can guess by using common sense. In any case, you only need to remember this: that man is one of the oldest and most authoritative seniors in the sect. Even I have to call him Martial Uncle if I run into him. It's just that it has been many years since I last saw him. He doesn't really like to stay in Profound Pill Sect. He prefers to travel all over the world. Only the heavens know what he does out there. Yang Kai was stunned. It turns out that master comes from such a prominent background. But, I'm surprised that person actually took in a disciple. Gao Shinpeng turned to look at Yang Kai with a pensive look. All of a sudden, the realization struck him. Martial Uncle has such discerning eyes. No Earthrealm master in Profound Pill Sect could have refined a heaven-grade pill. Could Martial Uncle have noticed that junior brother Yang is incredibly talented? Is that why he made an exception and took in a disciple? Yang Kai shook his head. Master only taught me alchemy for a few years. Moreover, he never allowed me to call him master. He claimed that it was a disgrace to him. Gao Shinpeng failed to stifle his laughter. That's definitely how he does things. Don't worry about it, junior brother Yang. Seeing as you were taught by that man, that makes you part of Profound Pill Sect. You should pack up your things later and follow me back to Profound Pill Sect to greet your seniors. But, Void Spirit Sword Sect, Yang Kai hesitantly said, I'll be honest with you, senior brother Gao. This junior brother is the eldest disciple of Void Spirit Sword Sect. Furthermore, I grew up in Void Spirit Sword Sect and am deeply indebted to the Master Sect for raising me. This junior brother cannot be ungrateful. Gao Shinpeng was slightly taken aback. I forgot about that. He pondered in silence for a moment before he continued, in that case, I'll return to Profound Pill Sect and ask for instructions first. We'll see what the sect master decides. Your situation is rather special after all. Profound Pill Sect has never had such a precedent before. I'll visit Void Spirit Sword Sect to inform you once I have further information. Then I shall have to trouble you, senior brother Gao. Yang Kai secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He definitely had no intention of going to Profound Pill Sect. The master he casually created on the spot had accidentally gotten him involved with Profound Pill Sect. Although he managed to fool Gao Shinpeng, he was bound to face more inconveniences if he went to Profound Pill Sect. It would be bad if his lies were exposed in some way. Why are you being so polite with me, junior brother? Gao Shinpeng was clearly in a good mood. Reaching his hand into his pocket, he took out a jade bottle. Since you are already at the peak of the Earthrealm, you will need a 10 revolutions clear heart pill to advance into the heaven realm. Don't use that low-rank pill of yours as its effects won't be good. Your aptitude might be extraordinary, but it's better to be careful. I have a high-rank 10 revolutions clear heart pill here. It's just right as a welcome gift from me as your senior brother. This high-rank pill was clearly not the one he refined earlier. Nevertheless, Gao Shinpeng was a veteran heaven-grade alchemist. It was not strange for him to have such a pill on him. Yang Kai did not refuse and accepted the pill gratefully. Martial Peak, Chapter 4500, Heaven Realm. With a high-rank 10 revolutions clear heart pill in hand, Yang Kai's advancement into the Heaven Realm was as good as an accomplished fact. Afterwards, Yang Kai asked about the amber liquid that Gao Shinpeng added at the end of the refining process. Gao Shinpeng only said that it was a secret recipe he developed himself, which could increase the success rate of pill condensation by a slight margin. Its presence or absence had nothing to do with refining the 10 revolutions clear heart pill. Something like this was very common. Even if everybody had mastered the same pill recipe, each person would have a different understanding of it. That was why many alchemists had their own special tricks. It was just that Yang Kai was meeting another alchemist for the first time in the divine armament world, so such practices were very curious and strange to him. With your talent, junior brother, you might even be able to modify the pill recipe for the 10 revolutions clear heart pill if you work hard in the future. By doing that, you will leave your name in history. You will be famous for countless generations to come. Yang Kai was embarrassed. You're praising me too much, senior brother. Gao Shinpeng shook his head. I have high hopes for you. To successfully refine a heaven-grade pill as an Earthrealm master, as far as I know, you're the first person to ever succeed. Good. Let's end our idle chat here. Let's go out now. I need to return to Profound Pill Sect as soon as possible and report about today's matters. It would have been different if Yang Kai was an alchemist with mediocre aptitude, but the key point was that his aptitude was extremely outstanding, so much so that he might even become the next master of the Medicine King Furnace in 100 years. This matter was related to the glory of the Profound Pill Sect, so it could not be handled sloppily. The two of them pushed open the door and walked out, smiling and chatting with each other. Miao Hong, who had been standing outside the door, hurried over to greet them only to be stunned by the sight. Gao Shinpeng then briefly explained the situation. Miao Hong was shocked by the turn of events. Even his gaze became solemn when he looked at Yang Kai. He initially planned to recruit Yang Kai into Heavenly Martial City, but it would now seem that his plan was hopeless. Yang Kai had not only gotten a connection with Profound Pill Sect, but he also considered Gao Shinpeng as his fellow brother. How could he take interest in Heavenly Martial City? In addition, Miao Hong had also planned to prepare a banquet. There were two reasons for his actions. The first reason was to welcome Gao Shinpeng. The other reason was to thank both Gao Shinpeng and Yang Kai for helping him. Unfortunately, Gao Shinpeng was in a hurry to return to Profound Pill Sect to report about Yang Kai's matters and politely declined the invitation. Miao Hong did not insist. Afterwards, Miao Hong and Yang Kai saw Gao Shinpeng out of Heavenly Martial City. It wasn't until the luxuriously decorated carriage disappeared from view that Yang Kai turned around and cupped his fist. City Lord Miao, I must take my leave too. I apologize for all the trouble I caused over the past few days. Alchemist Yang, you are too polite. This Miao has received your life-saving grace. If there is anything this Miao Hong can help with in the future, please don't hesitate to let me know. This Miao and Heavenly Martial City will never refuse. Ever since he learned about Yang Kai's connection with Profound Pill Sect, he recognized Yang Kai's terrifying potential. Therefore, these words came out decisively. Next, Miao Hong abruptly changed the subject. Alchemist Yang, are you really not going to stay a few more days? Yang Kai shook his head with a smile. No. I need to return to the Master Sect, but we might meet again very soon. Miao Hong was overjoyed to hear those words. In that case, this Miao will quietly wait to hear from you. While he was speaking, he clapped his hands smartly. Two carriages immediately drove out from behind him. The furnishings might not be as luxurious as the carriage Gao Xin Peng took, but they were not bad either. Not to mention, the carriages seemed to be filled with something very heavy. The body of the carriages was clearly weighted down by something. This is. Yang Kai looked at the carriages questioningly. 100,000 pieces of red jades to show you my sincerity. Alchemist Yang, please don't refuse. Despite listening to those words, Yang Kai did not react. On the other hand, the eyes of Du Yu and Shi Minghui standing behind him immediately gleamed brightly. 100,000 pieces of red jade was equivalent to 1 million pieces of black jade or 10 million pieces of white jade. This was a great display of sincerity indeed. Void Spirit Sword sect might own a black jade mine, but they could only mine 10 to 20,000 pieces of black jade a month at most. It would take them at least 7 to 10 years just to accumulate an amount that was equivalent to 100,000 pieces of red jade. Therefore, Du Yu and Shi Minghui were blown away by Miao Hong's generosity. Miao Hong laughed, Alchemist Yang, you will advance into the heaven realm soon. When your cultivation reaches this level, it's best to cultivate using red jades. The efficiency is far too low if you use black jades. Yang Kai cupped his fists. Your kindness is appreciated, City Lord. It would be impolite for this Yang to refuse. Yang Kai currently required a large amounts of resources for his cultivation. Besides, Miao Hong was showing his favor in advance. There was no reason to refuse. The value of 2 carriages worth of red jades was not small. For that reason, Miao Hong further arranged for people from Heavenly Martial City to escort them back. It took several days, but Yang Kai and his companions finally returned to Void Spirit Sword Sect. The escorts left immediately after delivering the items. Even so, the appearance of such a large force frightened Su Changfa and the others badly. They thought that somebody else was here to pick a quarrel with them again. After receiving an explanation from Du Yu and Shi Minghui, Su Changfa's mouth fell wide open. It was not until a long while later that he shook his head in amazement and disappointment. I've gotten old. Upon returning to Void Spirit Sword Sect, Yang Kai recounted the events at Heavenly Martial City to Su Changfa and the others. During the conversation, he secretly revealed that he was taught alchemy by a strange man when he was younger. There was no choice. Gao Xin Peng would surely come to Void Spirit Sword Sect in the future. At that time, Su Changfa and the others would learn about this matter. Rather than letting them hear about this from somebody else, it would be better for him to disclose this information in advance to give them some buffer time. Sure enough, Su Changfa and the others were completely stunned by the news. Jiyu Kang Ning frowned. When you were 6 or 7 years old? Weren't you spending all day long thinking about how to peek on your martial aunt Hong Xiu while she was bathing? Where would you find the time to learn alchemy from others? As soon as those words left his mouth, Hong Xiu immediately shot a sharp glare at him. Yang Kai was shocked. Did I do that when I was younger? Cold sweat dripped down the back of his head in waves. Hong Xiu's sharp knife-like gaze immediately swept over him and his cold sweat oozed out even harder. Su Changfa lightly coughed. If it was a senior expert from Profound Pill Sect, we would not have been able to detect anything. That's a good thing. I just never imagined that a brat like you would have such amazing talent in alchemy. You even managed to refine a heaven-grade pill. However, when he recalled that even the ancestor had handed his legacy inheritance to Yang Kai, Su Changfa found that it was not that surprising after all. Jiyu Kang Ning and Su Changfa exchanged a glance with each other before they nodded lightly in unison and said happily, "It is a joyous occasion for Void Spirit Sword Sec." The true Void Sword replica that had been missing for so many years finally reappeared. The 3 true Void Sword Chi fortified the fate of the sect. Now that Yang Kai was a heaven-grade alchemist who had connections with Profound Pill Sect, it was easy to see that Void Spirit Sword Sect would soon rise to glory. Honored Master, I'm afraid I have to enter retreat immediately even though I just returned to the sect. Senior brother Gao gave me a high-rank 10 revolutions clear heart pill before he left. By the time this disciple exits retreat, I will probably be able to advance into the heaven realm. Hong Xiu couldn't be bothered to be annoyed by what happened in the past upon hearing that. Instead, she exclaimed in astonishment when she heard those words, "What is your current cultivation?" "The peak of the earth realm." Yang Kai surged his spirit chi while speaking. The aura belonging to a master at the peak of the Earth realm immediately permeated the air. Su Chang Fa and the others instantly became dumbstruck. The three elders of Void Spirit Sword sect were astonished by how fast Yang Kai's cultivation speed was. They could not wrap their heads around how a cultivator in the fourth step mortal realm could reach the peak of the Earth realm in a short span of 3 months. Ignoring their reactions, Yang Kai went off to cultivate in retreat on his own. He had tried to break through before, but there was a layer of shackles formed by the world principles of this world. The help of an external source was required to advance from the Earth realm to the Heaven realm, otherwise, it was impossible to break through to the next realm just by relying on his strength alone. He did not know the reason behind this phenomenon and could only assume that it was a special characteristic of the divine armament world. Yang Kai sat beside a pile of red jades inside his secluded home and took out the high-rank pill that Jiao Shinpeng gave to him. After a quick check, he confirmed that there was nothing wrong with the pill and swallowed it. The process of advancing from the Earth realm to the Heaven realm was a process of transformation for any cultivator. It was their first baptism in life, it was a sublimation of their power, it was a test of life and death. If they crossed this threshold, they would step into a wider world and see greater sights. If they failed to cross this threshold, they would suffer endless troubles in the future. Be that as it may, Yang Kai's heritage as a sixth-order open heaven realm master was not just for show. Not to mention that he had a high-rank 10 revolutions clear heart pill to support him, so there was no need to worry that he might fail. He activated the heaven-devouring battle law and the medicinal efficacies in his abdomen quickly dissolved. In addition, the pure spirit chi contained within the red jades around him seemed to be pulled by a strong guiding force and transformed into a wave of spirit chi that poured into his body through his pores. His aura was released without any reservations. Then, it began to climb with a steady momentum and soon reached a peak. During his past attempts, Yang Kai would feel an invisible layer of shackles restricting his body whenever he reached this point. As a result, he became powerless to proceed any further. However, things were different this time. When he felt the invisible shackles wrapping around his body, he also felt the medicinal efficacies of the 10 revolutions clear heart pill in his body simultaneously flowing throughout his body and quickly shattering the shackles around him. He immediately felt lighter, as though a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. His aura that had reached the peak earlier continued to climb once more. Moreover, it grew in leaps and bounds. An overwhelming force burst out with him as the center, along with a ripple of air waves visible to the naked eye. The loose rock around his secluded home cracked and heaved noisily. All the cultivators in Void Spirit Sword sect sensed something at that moment and quickly stopped what they were doing to look in the direction of Yang Kai's secluded home. Su Chang Fa, Jiyu Kang Ning, and Hong Xiu had been standing guard not far away from Yang Kai's home all this while. At this moment, the old man's aged face became emotional. A Heaven Realm Master. There is finally a Heaven Realm Master in Void Spirit Sword sect. Our ancestors have finally taken pity on us and have given us their blessings. While speaking, tears flowed down his cheeks freely. Jiyu Kang Ning and Hong Xiu were similarly moved. Su Chang Fa was getting older and his vitality was beginning to decline. His martial Tao would forever stay in the third step Earth realm. But that was not the case for Jiyu Kang Ning and Hong Xiu. They still had the potential to move forward. The main reason for the slow growth of their cultivation was the lack of resources that could not keep up with their demands. Fortunately, the situation was getting better by the day. There were black jades being mined from the Black Jade mine every single day, and Yang Kai was a heaven-grade alchemist who could refine the 10 revolutions clear heart pill. As long as they worked hard in their cultivation, they would eventually reach the Heaven realm in their lifetime. For a moment, their eyes were filled with great hope. On the other side, Du Yu and Shi Ming Hui stood together. Having followed Yang Kai out on his trip this time, it could be said that they experienced many new things. Besides, their cultivation was not low. One was in the 7th step Earth realm while the other was in the 8th step Earth realm. It would not take more than a few years for them to reach the peak of the Earth realm. At that time, Yang Kai would be their biggest hope of advancing into the Heaven realm. After all, It was not difficult for a heaven-grade alchemist like him to refine some 10 revolutions clear heart pills for his own subordinates. After considering all this, the two of them exchanged a glance with each other and understood what the other was thinking. Even if Yang Kai were to remove the poison from their bodies now, they would not leave. They had made up their minds to follow him to the end. Marshall Peak, Chapter 4501, Loyalty. Inside the main conference hall of Void Spirit Sword Sect, Yang Kai sat valiantly in the main seat. To his left sat a group of elders from Tian Luo Hall with Li Zhengqing as their leader. On the other hand, to his right sat another group of people from Roaring Tiger Sect with Sect Master Zhuang Juhe at their head. There was a clear distinction between the two sides. Moreover, all the people present today were cultivators in the 4th step Earth grade and above. It had been 1 month since Yang Kai advanced into the Heaven Realm, and many things had happened during this time. The biggest incident that affected the entire Void Spirit Sword Sect was that the old sect master Su Chang Fa had abdicated his position. The eldest disciple of the younger generation, Yang Kai, had taken over in his stead. This was also what everybody desired. Yang Kai was the one and only Heaven Realm Master in the entire Void Spirit Sword Sect. Not only was he the strongest, but he was also very young, thus, it was only a matter of time before he took over as the Sect Master. Su Chang Fa had simply brought this matter forward a little. What's more, Void Spirit Sword Sect was now a booming business thanks to Yang Kai's efforts in developing the sect. Not only did Roaring Tiger Sect and Tian Luo Hall become branches of Void Spirit Sword Sect, but all the other sects and clans within 1,000 kilometers radius had also decided to submit to Void Spirit Sword Sect. Therefore, Void Spirit Sword Sect was indeed in need of a stronger sect master to act as a deterrent and a symbol. Su Chang Fa was getting on in his years. Although he was happy to witness the rise of Void Spirit Sword Sect, he no longer had the energy to manage the sect. In this aspect, Yang Kai was full of vigor, which was perfect for the circumstances. For that reason, Su Chang Fa swiftly decided to pass the torch to Yang Kai after a simple discussion with Jiyu Kang Ning and Hong Xiu, regardless of whether Yang Kai agreed or not. The succession ceremony was held half a month ago. All the nearby great forces sent their representatives to express their congratulations, making it a lively scene. Aside from that, news of Yang Kai refining the 10 revolutions clear heart pill in Heavenly Marshall City had spread like wildfire among the elders of Tian Luo Hall and Roaring Tiger Sect. This was something that could not be kept secret, and Yang Kai had no intention of keeping it secret either. That was why he did not care when Du Yu and Shi Ming Hui either intentionally or unintentionally spread this news to the public. The news caused a huge stir among the elders of Roaring Tiger Sect and Tian Luo Hall. Accordingly, the attitudes of these people were obviously much more respectful and attentive nowadays. In the past, they had no choice but to surrender under Yang Kai's brutal ferocity after he forced them to consume poison pills. However, it was different now. Yang Kai was not just a Heaven Realm Master but also a Heaven-grade alchemist. A person like that was a pivotal figure in the divine armament world. Once this information spread, there would be many Heaven Realm Masters willing to follow him. In the divine armament world, it was not shameful for a Heaven Realm Master to serve under a Heaven-grade alchemist. Rather, it was an act that was approved and recognized by the public. That was because Heaven Realm Masters required large amounts of resources for their cultivation, while Heaven-grade alchemists were wealthy people. As long as a Heaven Realm Master could serve under a suitable Heaven-grade alchemist, there would be no need for them to worry about cultivation resources again. Naturally, there was another, more important reason. If the Heaven-grade alchemist they served could advance to become a Spirit-grade alchemist, then they had hope of obtaining 100 revolutions clear heart pill and advancing into the Spirit realm in the future. They were simply investing in their future in advance. The two bodyguards at the peak of the Heaven Realm who served beside Jiao Xinpeng were eagerly waiting for the latter to become a Spirit-grade alchemist and subsequently refine 100 revolutions clear heart pills for them. After all, there were not many Spirit-grade alchemists in the entire divine armament world. Even if masters at the peak of the Heaven Realm like themselves begged those Spirit-grade alchemists for a pill, they might not have a chance of success. The people of Roaring Tiger Sect and Tianluo Hall were well aware that Yang Kai could easily amass a large force of Heaven Realm masters with his current status and identity, therefore, they were dispensable pawns in his eyes. It was not easy for them to gain a connection to a heaven-grade alchemist, hence, they would never let this opportunity slip by without a fight. Inside the hall, these people sat upright with their backs straight. They also had attentive looks on their faces. Despite so many people gathering in the main hall, it was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Even the sound of their breathing had been suppressed to the limits. They did not know the reason why Yang Kai summoned them all here. Ever since he returned from his previous trip, he had remained in retreat. Aside from the one time he showed up at the succession ceremony, there had been no sight of him. Looking around, Yang Kai nodded in satisfaction after seeing the respectful behaviors of these elders. He then shouted, "Li Zhengqing." Tianluo Hall's sect master, Li Zhengqing, hastily stood up and cupped his fist. "Subordinate is here. How long have you been stuck at the peak of the Earth Realm?" Yang Kai casually asked. Li Zhengqing quickly replied, reporting to Sir, "It has been 13 years since this old master advanced to the peak Earth Realm." Yang Kai nodded and looked to the other side. "What about you, Zhuangju He?" Roaring Tiger Sect's sect master, Zhuangju He, also stood up quickly and smiled brightly. "I'm slightly better off than Brother Li, it has been 8 years for me." Yang Kai said, "This world has shackles that bind us tightly. Unless you break free of these shackles, you will never get a glimpse into the mysteries of the Heaven Realm." Raising a hand, he threw out 2 bursts of light towards Li Zhengqing and Zhuangju He. "Take this and cultivate hard. Don't disappoint this king." Both Li Zhengqing and Zhuangju He accepted the beams of light, and when they stared down at the item, they immediately became emotional. Li Zhengqing's lips trembled. "Tea this. Sir, could this be?" Zhuangju He took a deep breath and finished the sentence for Li Zhengqing. 10 revolutions clear heart pill?" There was an uproar among the people in the main hall and numerous gazes latched onto the pills that Li Zhengqing and Zhuangju He were holding in their hands like leeches. They might not need this pill right now, but it was something they would need one day. "Yes, they are 10 revolutions clear heart pills. As you know, I am now a heaven-grade alchemist." This king refined these 2 pills himself. Yang Kai responded indifferently. He had already learned the pill recipe for the 10 revolutions clear heart pill by heart, so a few days prior, Yang Kai sent his subordinates to purchase some herbs for him and quickly refined some 10 revolutions clear heart pills. Seeing as he had no need to conceal his skills anymore, Yang Kai went all out during the refining process and produced 6 pills in the end. Out of which, 1 was a high-rank pill and 5 were mid-rank pills. To prevent standing out too much, he had only given Li Zhengqing and Zhuangju He a mid-rank pill each. Even so, his actions made those 2 incredibly emotional. They had known that Yang Kai would one day give them 10 revolutions clear heart pills to aid them in advancing to the Heaven Realm if they were loyal enough. However, they never imagined that such a great blessing would come to them so soon. They thought that it would take several years of loyal performance for them to obtain the 10 revolutions clear heart pill. Thinking about it again though, Yang Kai's strength was obvious. Not to mention that he was also a heaven-grade alchemist. Earthrealm masters like themselves were probably of little importance to him. As such, they could play a greater role if he helped them advance into the heaven grade as soon as possible. Li Zhengqing was the first to return to his senses. He put the pill away with great care and cupped his fist. "Many thanks for your gracious gift, sir. This old master swears that he will repay your kindness. He used to be the great elder of Tianluo Hall. Although Tianluo Hall was not a bad place, he had been suppressed by the palace master Xu Wn Cheng, who stood above him. Most of the resources had been taken by Xu Wn Cheng, so even if Li Zhengqing wanted to ask a heaven-grade alchemist for a 10 revolutions clear heart pill, he could not gather enough compensation to do so. On the other hand, Xu Wn Cheng had managed to accumulate enough compensation to make such a request. Be that as it may, he still had to wait several years for his turn to come. The problem Zhuangju He faced was similar to Xu Wn Cheng. Back then, Zhuangju He traveled tens of thousands of kilometers to Profound Pill Sect to request a 10 revolutions clear heart pill. He had handed over a substantial reward only to be told that he had to wait for another 8 to 10 years. But now, there was a 10 revolutions clear heart pill right in front of him. He gave a deep sigh as he thought to himself, the treatment sure is different when you have powerful friends. With this pill, he was 80% certain that he could advance into the heaven realm. Cupping his fist solemnly, he said, "Many thanks, sir. This subordinate will not let you down. I will definitely advance into the heaven grade as soon as possible and dedicate my services to you." Yang Kai nodded lightly and swept his gaze over the others below him. "As for the rest of you, there's no need to be envious of them. If any of you reach the peak of the earth grade and wish to advance into the heaven realm, feel free to come to me. I will prepare a 10 revolutions clear heart pill for each of you." The expressions of the others changed upon hearing those words, and they thanked him with great emotion. Even if Yang Kai tried to drive them away now, they would never leave. Staying here meant that there was no need to worry about the 10 revolutions clear heart pill that was required to advance into the heaven realm. Where else would they find such a beneficial deal? Afterwards, Yang Kai dispersed the crowd and went to check on the studies of Wn Ying and his other 2 junior brothers. He taught them some common knowledge and techniques for alchemy, and only then did he return to his secluded home. Out of the 100,000 pieces of red jade Yang Kai brought back from Heavenly Marshal City, only half of them remained. If anybody were to learn about his consumption rate, they would be absolutely shocked. However, for a person who used the heaven-devouring battle law like him, this was the result of deliberate suppression. The power of the heaven-devouring battle law was unfathomable. Even Yang Kai was horrified by this secret art that allowed him to devour everything in existence when activated. If he did not deliberately suppress the power of this secret art, he would have finished consuming the 100,000 pieces of red jade a long time ago. Unfortunately, Yang Kai needed to allow his body to become accustomed to the surge in his cultivation, and he also needed time for the might of his dragon vein to remove the hidden dangers brought about by cultivating the heaven-devouring battle law. Therefore, he had no choice but to slow down his cultivation. Fortunately, the toughness of his body gradually increased as his cultivation improved and more power from his dragon vein could be stimulated as a result. All of this formed a delicate balance with the heaven-devouring battle law, so there were no hidden dangers for the time being. During this past month, his cultivation did not grow by much as he only advanced from the first step heaven realm to the second step heaven realm. The main reason for such slow progress was that the amount of resources he required just to advance by one step was colossal now that he was in the heaven realm. Other cultivators might not face such issues, but Yang Kai knew that he was unlike other people. If it was said that one's body was a container, then other people might have the capacity of a large lake when they reached the heaven realm. In contrast, Yang Kai's capacity was as large as an ocean. The spirit chi he needed to accumulate in order to advance into the next minor realm was many times greater than average. The reason for such an occurrence was that the gradual strengthening of his body allowed him to accommodate even more spirit chi. That was why Yang Kai was confident that he could win against most masters at the peak heaven realm despite only being in the second step heaven realm. Moreover, he could succeed purely with his own strength, without the support of the true void sword chi. The days went by smoothly. In addition to cultivation, Yang Kai would take the time to teach Wn Ying and the others daily. Nothing else required his personal attention, as ever since giving Zhuang Juhe and Li Zhengqing the 10 revolutions clear heart pills, the entirety of Roaring Tiger Sect and Tian Luo Hall had become absolutely loyal to him. Meanwhile, the diligence of the younger Void Spirit Sword Sect disciples was gradually producing results in their cultivation. At present, Void Spirit Sword Sect was no longer lacking in financial resources. Not only did they have the Black Jade Mine, but Roaring Tiger Sect and Tian Luo Hall also kept sending various cultivation resources over as tribute. As a result, the disciples no longer needed to suffer through poverty like before. Thanks to the consumption of various cultivation resources and supplemented by the body-tempering secret art that Yang Kai taught them previously, the bodies of Void Spirit Sword Sect disciples not only became stronger, but their cultivation also improved at a steady pace. Marshall Peak, Chapter 4502, Someone from Profound Pill Sect. Void Spirit Sword sect was flourishing by the day. Soon, 1 month had passed. Yang Kai stepped out of his secluded home on a bright sunny day. After 1 month of training, he finally reached the next step in his cultivation. He was now in the 3rd step heaven realm. However, he had used up all the red jades that Miao Hong had given to him. There were many black jades in Void Spirit Sword sect, so he decided to give it a try. However, he realized that just like what Miao Hong had said, when a cultivator reached the heaven realm, it would be ineffective to use black jades to cultivate. Red jades would be a much better option. He knew that he should head out to look for cultivation resources. The notion made him feel somewhat dispirited. Nevertheless, it wasn't a difficult task for him. Now, he was a heaven-rank alchemist, and he possessed the pill recipe for the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart pill. Therefore, it wasn't hard for him to collect some resources. As long as he exposed the fact that he was able to refine the 10 Revolutions Clear Heart pill, countless cultivators would come over to request alchemy services from him. After all, in this divine armament world, a lot of cultivators were stuck at the peak of Earth realm. Yang Kai had already expected this day to come. Therefore, before he left Heavenly Martial City previously, he had insinuated to Miao Hong that he might return to the city soon. Compared to Void Spirit Sword sect, Heavenly Martial City was much more powerful, and it also had a larger population. Yang Kai had already decided to return to Heavenly Martial City and set up a pill shop. While refining pills for others, he could also collect the resources he needed. With sufficient resources, he would be able to reach the peak of the heaven realm at the fastest speed. As for the 100 Revolutions Clear Heart pill needed for achieving an ascension to the spirit realm from the heaven realm, Yang Kai could only play it by ear. He wasn't in a rush anyway, and he believed that a solution would present itself eventually. He left his secluded home while he was still lost in his thoughts, and when he looked up, he became startled for a moment. That was because Wn Ying Ying was seated outside his home as she stared vigilantly at Li Zhengqing, who was just standing in a nearby place with a helpless expression, as though he was waiting for Yang Kai to come out. However, the old man wasn't in a healthy state as he had been injured. His face was slightly pale, and his arm seemed to have been fractured as it was hung close to his chest with a long piece of cloth. Upon hearing the noises, Wn Ying Ying and Li Zhengqing gazed at Yang Kai. The former got up joyfully and dashed towards Yang Kai. In an obedient manner, she called out, "Eldest senior brother." Yang Kai nodded gently and stroked her head. Wn Ying Ying instantly started blushing as she moved away and pouted, "I'm a grown woman, eldest senior brother. Please stop treating me like a child." Despite what she had said, she appeared to be enjoying his touch. Yang Kai laughed and nodded his head, "Got it. I'll be more mindful." Then, he gazed at Li Zhengqing. "What happened? Who hurt you?" An embarrassed Li Zhengqing bent his back and replied, "Sir, I have no idea who hurt me. The person's movement skill was brilliant, so I was unable to see them clearly." Yang Kai was surprised. "You're in the heaven realm now. How could you not even see who hurt you?" Although it had only been a month since he last met Li Zhengqing, Yang Kai could sense that the old man was now in the heaven realm. Li Zhengqing started flushing. "I really couldn't see the person clearly. I'm truly useless. So, what happened?" Li Zhengqing hurriedly narrated the incident in detail, as that was the reason he had been waiting here in the first place. Before Yang Kai entered retreat to cultivate, he had ordered that no one should disturb him. Therefore, Wn Ying Ying had been standing guard outside of the secluded home, and she wouldn't even let Li Zhengqing come anywhere near the place. Upon hearing his story, Yang Kai finally learned that about half a month ago, a Heaven Realm master snuck into Void Spirit Sword sect. No one knew who the person was or even if they were a man or woman. They also had no idea why the person had snuck into this place. Li Zhengqing and Zhuangju he ascended to the Heaven Realm not long after. Since this was a serious incident, they personally led their subordinates to look into the matter. Unfortunately, when they finally detected some traces and found the intruder's hiding place, they were easily defeated by that person. Li Zhengqing and Zhuangju he were injured even though they had joined forces. Fortunately, that person didn't seem to have the intention to kill, so after injuring Li Zhengqing and Zhuangju he, they immediately fled. Otherwise, The 2 new Heaven Realm Masters wouldn't have been able to survive. Other than the ones guarding the Black Jade Lode, the people from Tianluo Hall and Roaring Tiger Sect had gone all out to look for that mysterious person, but they hadn't found a single clue so far. The reason Li Zhengqing had been staying there was to inform Yang Kai about it as soon as the latter exited his seclusion. A mysterious person, Yang Kai frowned. Why do you think that person came to our sect? The elusive person never killed anyone, and they were able to defeat 2 new Heaven Realm Masters, so it was obvious that they were very strong. The person must be in the 3rd step Heaven Realm at the very least. There must be a reason for such a person to sneak into this place. Li Zhengqing replied, Brother Zhuang and I discussed it before, and we're worried that the person came here for the Black Jade Lode. After all, in Void Spirit Sword Sect, only the Black Jade Mine could arouse the interest of Heaven Realm Masters. Yang Kai nodded gently. It's a possibility. Did you find anything in the lode itself? Li Zhengqing shook his head. That's what's strange about it. We didn't find any trace of the intruder in the mineral lode. Is that person still in Void Spirit Sword Sect? Yang Kai narrowed his eyes. Yes, I believe so. Li Zhengqing bowed his head. That person is powerful. Even though we discovered them once, they didn't immediately leave. Brother Zhuang found the person again last night, but they soon disappeared. Interesting. Yang Kai's lips curved into a smile. There was a mysterious Heaven Realm Master who appeared in Void Spirit Sword Sect and kept hiding in different places. It was expected that the people here were anxious. Before they figured out the person's intentions, the entire Void Spirit Sword Sect would be shrouded in suspense. Alright, Before Yang Kai finished his words, he saw a burly man rushing towards them. He's from Tianluo Hall, Li Zhengqing spoke up. The burly man stood in front of Li Zhengqing and cupped his fist. Greetings, Sect Master. What's wrong? Li Zhengqing asked. The burly man replied, There's a Heaven Realm Master at the bottom of the mountain who has requested to meet the Sect Master. Li Zhengqing turned solemn. A Heaven Realm Master? Did he reveal his background? The burly man shook his head. He didn't. However, he gave me this thing. He said that the Sect Master will understand it when he sees it. Upon finishing his words, he held out a token with both hands. A doubtful Yang Kai took it and instantly saw the character GAO on the token. Upon realizing who the visitor was, he said to the burly man, Invite him to the reception hall. I'll be waiting for him over there. Yes, the burly man replied and turned to leave. Li Zhengqing gazed at Yang Kai and asked, Sir, could the visitor be? No. He's from Profound Pill Sect. Profound Pill Sect. Li Zhengqing straightened his face as the sect was truly famous. It was one of 10 great sects in the divine armament world that currently controlled the Medicine King Furnace divine armament. A moment later, a muscular man stepped into the reception hall. Just like what Yang Kai had expected, the visitor was the one he had in mind. However, what surprised Yang Kai was that the man was carrying a person in his hand. This person's strength was apparently sealed, so they appeared weak while trying to struggle out of the man's grip. Gao Ming greets Alchemist Yang. The man directly threw the person onto the ground, and ignoring their glare, he cupped his fist to Yang Kai. Yang Kai nodded his head. Are you the bodyguard of senior brother Gao? When he saw the token just now, he reckoned that Gao Shinpeng must have sent someone over. When they parted ways in Heavenly Martial City previously, Gao Shinpeng said that he had to return to Profound Pill Sect as soon as possible to report the matter of Yang Kai's existence to his sect. 2 months had passed, so it was about the right time for Profound Pill Sect to react. Yes. Gao Ming nodded. It was the first time Yang Kai heard his name, so he asked curiously, You share the same surname as senior brother Gao. Are you two from the same family? Gao Ming nodded. That's right. I see. Upon hearing that, Yang Kai reckoned that Gao Ming's loyalty could be guaranteed since he and Gao Shinpeng were from the same family. Gao Shinpeng must share the same concerns, which was why he asked Gao Ming to be his bodyguard. Then, Yang Kai took a glance at the person who was squirming on the ground and asked curiously, Who is this? The person on the ground was a woman, but her face couldn't be made out for now. Although her spirit chi had been sealed, she was still squirming like a worm as though she was trying to flee. The sight was quite comical. Gao Ming replied, I detected this person's aura when I was climbing the mountain. Since she was being rather stealthy, I decided to capture her. Please forgive me if she's from your sect. Yang Kai was instantly amused, she's not from Void Spirit Sword sect. Then, he turned to look at Li Zhengqing, is it her? Li Zhengqing shook his head, I can't be sure. Just ask her about it. Yang Kai rose from the chair and walked up to the woman to block her way. The woman immediately lifted her head and roared, get lost. Yang Kai adjusted his clothes and squatted in front of her before clenching her chin and lifting her up. He realized that she was a young woman with an alluring face and skin was as fair as snow. Despite her beautiful looks, the woman was clearly quite fierce and incensed as the first thing she did was widen her mouth in an attempt to bite Yang Kai's hand. Yang Kai exerted more force into his grip, which ensured that she was unable to close her mouth. She could only hoot in response. Are you the one who has been hiding in Void Spirit Sword sect? Yang Kai questioned. The woman still hooted in response. Yang Kai grunted and scolded, I'll release you, but don't you bite me. Otherwise, I'll break all your teeth. The woman glared at Yang Kai without saying anything. It was only then that Yang Kai released her, which instantly left some red marks on her fair face. Speak. Are you the one who has been making a scene in Void Spirit Sword sect? Are you the one who hurt my subordinates? So what if it was me? Despite her alluring face, the woman was hot-tempered. Release me if you have the guts and fight this great aunt. Yang Kai chuckled and gazed at Gao Ming. What's this woman's cultivation? Gao Ming replied, 6-step heaven realm or slightly higher. You're unlucky, then. Yang Kai started sympathizing with her. A 6-step heaven realm master should be quite powerful, and she was basically peerless in Void Spirit Sword sect. However, she happened to come across Gao Ming, which was why she was easily captured. Marshall Peak, Chapter 4503, Unlucky Hua Rong. What's your name? Where are you from? Yang Kai asked. The woman glared at him. Do you think I'll tell you? You're pretty hot-tempered. Yang Kai grinned, then yelled, Li Zhengqing. Yes. Li Zhengqing hurriedly stepped forward. Whip her 100 times before I interrogate her. Li Zhengqing was startled for a moment, but he soon replied, yes. Then, he moved towards the woman. The woman was horrified. 100 whips were no big deal as since she was a heaven realm master, the torture wouldn't kill her. However, after 100 whips, her clothes would certainly be destroyed. How was she going to face anyone when her body was exposed by then? She couldn't believe that such a vicious man existed in this world. My name is Hua Rong. Hua Rong. The woman hurriedly spoke up. So, it's Sister Hua. Yang Kai nodded gently. What are you doing in Void Spirit Sword sect? Hua Rong batted her alluring eyes. Will you believe me if I say I'm having a stroll around here since this place is beautiful and serene? Yang Kai looked up and shouted, Li Zhengqing, wait. If you don't believe me, I'll come up with another excuse. Hua Rong cried. Yang Kai waved his hand. Take her away and whip her 100 times. True Void Sword. Hua Rong exclaimed. I'm here for the true Void Sword. Oh. Yang Kai arched his brow, then took the sword from his waist and waved it in front of her. You're here for this sword? Hua Rong nodded, yes. Yang Kai stared fixedly at her and realized that she didn't seem to be lying. She really seemed to be here for the true Void Sword. It seemed that he and Li Zhengqing had gotten it wrong. The Black Jade lode in Void Spirit Sword sect wasn't the only thing that could arouse the interest of Heaven Realm Masters. There was also the true Void Sword. Nevertheless, it wasn't surprising at all. Although the true Void Sword was just a replica of a divine armament, it was still commissioned by the true Void Sword Lord using a lot of money and resources. Therefore, the true Void Sword was no ordinary weapon as it was a spirit armament, making it practically invaluable. However, since this was the inheritance left behind by the true Void Sword Lord for his descendants, there were naturally some security measures in place. The sword had 3 distinct portions of sword chi sealed within it and could only be safely used by one who cultivated the Void Spirit Sword art. If an unsuspecting person rashly activated the sword's power, the true void sword chi would kill the wielder instead of their enemies. It wasn't certain how Hua Rong found out that the true void sword had appeared, but that was apparently the reason she had come all the way here. Unfortunately, even if she managed to obtain the sword, she wouldn't be able to use it unless she was able to remove the sword chi from within it. That's the true void sword. To the side, Gao Ming, who had always remained calm and collected, was shocked as he looked dazedly at the sword in Yang Kai's hand. As a Heaven Realm master, he certainly had heard about true void sword before, as it was one of the 10 great divine armaments. Yang Kai shook his head. Of course, it's not the real true void sword. An ancestor from Void Spirit Sword sect made this weapon by imitating the divine armament. It's just a spirit armament. A spirit armament. Gao Ming took a deep breath. Although this true void sword was just a spirit armament, no ordinary person had the right to possess it. Such a treasure would bring misfortune to its owner if they weren't strong enough. It was imaginable that if word got out, Void Spirit Sword sect would never have any peaceful days again. Forget about Heaven Realm masters, even many Spirit Realm masters would come over to snatch this weapon. You're pretty good at gathering information. Yang Kai flashed a smile at the woman. Hua Rong remained curled up like a worm, but she was no longer squirming. The main reason was that all her spirit chi had been sealed, so it was pointless for her to struggle. As she gazed at Yang Kai with a tilted head, she suggested by saying, "Your sect is unable to keep this weapon. Why don't you give the sword to me to save yourself some trouble? Your problems will all be solved then. Even if I give it to you, do you think you can keep it?" Yang Kai burst into laughter. Hua Rong shrugged. "That's my problem." To the side, Gao Ming snorted. A spirit armament is truly precious. However, if Alchemist Yang is unable to keep it, no one else in the world can do that. Hua Rong was startled for a moment. How arrogant. How could Void Spirit Sword sect? Gao Ming cut her off by saying, "Void Spirit Sword sect naturally can't hold onto a spirit armament, but what about Profound Pill sect?" Profound Pill sect. Hua Rong was astonished as she gazed at Yang Kai in puzzlement. "You're from Profound Pill sect?" Gao Ming stated, "Alchemist Yang is a disciple of the 34th generation from Profound Pill sect, and is also a heaven-grade alchemist." What? Hua Rong was flabbergasted as she got to her knees and looked up at Yang Kai. With widened eyes, she stuttered, "He is a heaven-grade alchemist. What's so surprising about it?" Yang Kai looked smilingly at her. Hua Rong examined him and tutted, "It said that one can't judge a book by its cover. If I hadn't heard it from a cultivator who's at the peak of the Heaven Realm, I wouldn't have believed it. By the way, who are you?" As she spoke, she turned to look at Gao Ming. She was truly unlucky to have been captured by Gao Ming. Initially, given her cultivation, Void Spirit Sword sect was basically defenseless against her. Unfortunately, she happened to come across a cultivator who was at the peak of the Heaven Realm. It was said that curiosity killed the cat. When Gao Ming was going up the mountain, Hua Rong secretly took a peek at him, which was why her whereabouts were exposed. She was subsequently captured by him. A proud Gao Ming declared, "I'm a blood warrior under heaven-grade alchemist Gao Shinpeng, Gao Ming, a blood warrior from Profound Pill sect." Hua Rong's pupils contracted, then she let out a sigh. "It's no wonder you were able to capture me easily. I admit defeat." She no longer appeared high-spirited as she sat on her backside and looked away. "Just kill me. I've made a rash move and offended a heaven-grade alchemist, so I deserve to die despite being such a young woman." She seemed to be a resolute person, and if it weren't because her eyes were darting around when she spoke, Yang Kai would have admired her audacity. "Since you've barged into Void Spirit Sword sect and wounded my subordinates, I can't let you off easily. However, seeing as you didn't have the intention to kill, I won't sentence you to death. Why don't you receive one attack move from me? I'll release you after that." Yang Kai looked condescendingly at her. Hua Rong was surprised. "Are you serious? Do I look like I'm pulling your leg?" Yang Kai dispassionately replied. Hua Rong was startled for a moment, then nodded. "You're a good man. I'm in the wrong as I shouldn't have offended your sect." Yang Kai turned to look at Gao Ming. "Please lift her seal." Gao Ming appeared hesitant, But he still stepped forward and sent his spirit chi into her to release the seal he had placed. Hua Rong immediately got up and began stretching her limbs. Gao Ming said, "Please be careful, Alchemist Yang. Although this woman is weaker than me, she's still pretty strong. It took me quite some effort to capture her just now." Yang Kai nodded and gazed at the woman. "Are you ready?" "Of course." Before Hua Rong could finish her words, she saw something flashing through her eyes. When she came to her senses, she realized that Yang Kai was already right in front of her. From the corner of her eye, she could see something coming right at her head, so she anxiously lifted her arms to block it. Before she could accuse Yang Kai of launching a sneak attack, she heard a loud bang. Instantly, she became dizzy, and after staggering for a bit, she collapsed to the ground. Raising his true void sword, Yang Kai took a glance at the unmoving woman and frowned. "I guess I used too much force." The weapon was sheathed when Yang Kai struck Hua Rong's head with the flat of his blade. Although she had passed out, her injury shouldn't have been serious. Gao Ming was dumbfounded. After lifting the woman's seal, he secretly circulated his spirit chi and was ready to make a move to ensure nothing unexpected would happen, but the subsequent incident thoroughly shocked him. He thought that Yang Kai was a pretty despicable man. How could Yang Kai launch a sneak attack on such an alluring woman? That wasn't what a gentleman should do. Nevertheless, he wouldn't dare to say it out loud. "Ying Ying, throw her off the mountain." Yang Kai gave an order to Wn Ying Ying, who was still dumbstruck. Wn Ying Ying replied and picked up Hua Rong before shuffling out. A moment later, a speechless Wan Ying Ying returned. Li Zhengqing was stunned. "Did you get rid of her so soon?" Wan Ying Ying replied, "No. That woman wasn't really passed out. Not long after I left this place, she woke up and leapt off the mountain." Upon realizing what had happened, Li Zhengqing remarked, "She's quite a clever woman. That Hua Rong obviously pretended to have passed out, otherwise, she couldn't have regained consciousness so soon." Then, Li Zhengqing looked worriedly at Yang Kai. "Sir, will there be a problem if we let her go?" Yang Kai waved his hand. "Don't mind her. She doesn't have any ill intentions. I guess she's just interested in the true void sword, otherwise, Yuan Zhuangju he would have been killed. Since she doesn't have the intention to kill, a light punishment for her was enough." "You're indeed a righteous man, sir." Li Zhengqing bent his back. Yang Kai recalled the sight of him striking the woman with his sword. Now, he had a better understanding of the power he had grasped. He then turned to look at Gao Ming and said, "Sorry for the farce, brother Gao." Gao Ming hurriedly replied, "Please don't call me that, Alchemist Yang. I don't deserve it. Just call me Guardian Gao." Yang Kai nodded. "Why have you come to Void Spirit Sword Sect, Guardian Gao? Does senior brother Gao want you to pass on a message to me?" Gao Ming cupped his fist. "Senior Gao wants me to bring you back to Profound Pill Sect. He said that since you're also part of Profound Pill Sect, you should return to your roots and acknowledge your ancestry. Besides that, the elders have some questions for you as well." "I see." Yang Kai felt his heart skipping. Although he knew that the matter regarding Profound Pill Sect would be a problem, he hadn't expected it to come so soon. Previously, in Heavenly Martial City, Yang Kai randomly came up with an imaginary master to explain his skills, and Gao Xin Peng someone concluded that person was a senior from Profound Pill Sect. That was why Yang Kai suddenly became related to Profound Pill Sect. Honestly speaking, Yang Kai never wanted to go to Profound Pill Sect. Although he was able to fool Gao Xin Peng previously, it would be terrible if his lie was exposed after he headed there. Yang Kai believed that there were many spirit realm masters in Profound Pill Sect since it was one of the 10 great sects, and there was no way he could go up against such a force as he was currently. Once his lie was exposed, he would be doomed. Martial Peak, Chapter 4504, Blood Warriors of Profound Pill Sect. However, since those from Profound Pill Sect were aware of Yang Kai's existence, and Gao Xin Peng had sent someone over to invite him, it would arouse their suspicion if he rejected the invitation, and his lie might be exposed. It seemed that he had no choice but to head to Profound Pill Sect. Nevertheless, It would be a good thing if he could really join Profound Pill Sect. Although it had only been 2 months since he ascended to the heaven realm, it would only take him a few years before he could make it to the spirit realm given the speed at which he cultivated using the heaven-devouring battle law. By then, he would need to use the 100 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill. The 100 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill was a spirit pill. Only a small number of great forces in the divine armament world possessed the pill recipe, and each one was a top existence in this world. It was practically impossible for Yang Kai to get the pill recipe of the 100 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill from those great forces. However, if he could assimilate into Profound Pill Sect, he might be able to get the pill recipe from them. All in all, there were pros and cons if he headed to Profound Pill Sect. After giving it a thought, Yang Kai decided to give it a try. It was said that fortune favors the bold, so he reckoned that it was worth going to Profound Pill Sect. As long as he was careful enough, his lie wouldn't be exposed. After all, he had successfully fooled Gao Shinpeng already. At the thought of this, he nodded. Since it's an order from senior brother Gao, I'll definitely obey. However, Void Spirit Sword Sect. Gao Ming said, "Don't worry, Alchemist Yang. You're a heaven-grade alchemist and a disciple from Profound Pill Sect. As long as word spreads, no one will dare to harm Void Spirit Sword Sect." Yang Kai reckoned that the other man was right. No one in the divine armament world was willing to rashly offend a heaven-grade alchemist, especially when he had something to do with Profound Pill Sect. "Will you please wait here for 2 days, Guardian Gao? I'll settle everything in my sect and follow you to Profound Pill Sect." Gao Ming naturally wouldn't object to it. For the next 2 days, Yang Kai was busy handling all the trivial matters in Void Spirit Sword Sect. His trip to Profound Pill Sect was risky, so he decided not to bring anyone with him. Furthermore, there were only 2 Heaven Realm Masters in Void Spirit Sword Sect, so it was pointless to bring them with him. He'd rather let them stay here to protect the sect. With Li Zhengqing and Zhuang Ju he guarding Void Spirit Sword Sect, they could at least fend off some reckless people. Yang Kai then refined some 10 Revolutions Clear Heart Pill and passed them to Su Chang Fa so that there wouldn't be a lack of such pills when their disciples had to achieve an ascension. There was a black jade mine in the Master Sect as well as other businesses controlled by Tian Luo Hall and Roaring Tiger Sect, which could sustain the sect's development for a long time. As for the junior brothers and junior sisters, Yang Kai had some arrangements for them as well. Wn Ying Ying and 2 other junior brothers had gained some experience in the alchemic Dao, so there wouldn't be a problem after they were given some pills for body tempering. What they lacked was cultivation, which couldn't be solved in a short time. Yang Kai also left behind a book which contained his insights into alchemy for Wn Ying Ying. The book also contained many pill recipes. With this thing in her possession, she could still cultivate alchemy on her own even though Yang Kai wouldn't be by her side. Everything was settled in 2 days. Outside the mountain, Yang Kai bid farewell to the seniors, junior brothers, and junior sisters of his master sect. Su Chang Fa and the others were worried as, after they parted ways, it would probably take a long time before they reunited. Furthermore, Yang Kai was going to a faraway place. As seniors, Su Chang Fa and the others were expected to be worried. Wn Ying Ying was sobbing as she wouldn't let go of Yang Kai's clothes. "All right, stop crying. I'll come back to visit you all after some time." Yang Kai helped Wn Ying Ying brush the tears from her eyes. If it weren't because he was worried that he might fall into trouble in Profound Pill Sect, he could have brought Wn Ying Ying with him and personally taught her. However, his future was uncertain, so it might do more harm than good to her if he brought her with him. "Please take good care of yourself, eldest senior brother. If you feel aggrieved in the outside world, remember you can always come back." Wan Ying Ying cried. "Ian, please protect the sect on my behalf. If anything happens, go to Profound Pill Sect to look for me." Yang Kai then turned to look at Li Zhengqing and Zhuang Ju He. "Both of you will be in charge of Void Spirit Sword Sect when I'm not around." They cupped their fists and said with straight faces, "Don't worry. We'll not disappoint you." Then, Yang Kai also talked to Su Chang Fa, Jiu Kang Ning, and Hong Xiu for a bit before he leaped onto his horse and beckoned to Gao Ming, "Let's go." Gao Ming nodded his head and led the way for him. After waving his hand at the crowd, Yang Kai clenched the horse with his legs and charged forward, soon disappearing into the distance. Profound Pill Sect was pretty far away, as it would take them half a month to arrive at their destination. They would also pass by Heavenly Marshall City on their way. However, not long after they left the mountain, Jiao Ming frowned and looked behind as though he had detected something. Yang Kai said, "Keep going. Let's see what she's up to." A surprised Jiao Ming asked, "You're aware of it as well, Alchemist Yang?" He was at the peak of the Heaven Realm, so it was expected that he could detect any anomaly around them. However, Yang Kai was a newly promoted Heaven Realm Master, so it was surprising that he had also noticed it. Yang Kai replied with a smile, "Alchemists have very sensitive perceptions. Otherwise, we can't accurately control our alchemy flames." After giving it a thought, Jiao Ming realized that it was true. Alchemists indeed had more acute senses, therefore, he obeyed his order and kept going. Upon moving past a coal, they hid on the side and waited patiently. Soon, a figure was charging forward in their direction. As soon as she dashed past the coal, she saw two people staring fixedly at her. She instantly stiffened and became rooted to the spot. With a cold expression, Jiao Ming glowered at Hua Rong, who had been tailing them. Hua Rong batted her eyes, then rubbed her palms together and beamed at them. "What a coincidence. I didn't expect to bump into you here. Are you leaving? Where are you going?" There was still a bump on the woman's forehead after Yang Kai struck her with his sword previously. It looked like there was a horn on her head, which was quite comical. Jiao Ming questioned grimly, "Why are you stalking us?" "Huh? Who's stalking you?" Hua Rong looked around, then pointed at her own nose. "Are you talking about me? I'm worried it's just a misunderstanding." "I happened to." She soon realized she was unable to keep fabricating a lie, so she said meekly, "All right, it seems that you won't believe me." Not wanting to waste any more time on her, Yang Kai shook his head and warned, "Stop following us, or I'll hit your head one more time." Then, he leaped onto the back of his horse and beckoned to Jiao Ming before galloping away. However, Hua Rong used a profound movement skill as she tagged along with Yang Kai closely and asked curiously, "Are you really a heaven-grade alchemist? Did you lie to me?" Yang Kai shot her a glance, wondering what was wrong with her. Her head was previously struck by his sword, but she still relentlessly followed him. It wasn't certain what she was up to. "Would you like to hire a bodyguard who is loyal and manageable? How do you find me?" Hua Rong kept babbling regardless of whether Yang Kai would respond to her. "It's really easy to manage me. You just have to give me some resources and food every day, and I won't demand anything else. If anyone tries to harm you, I'll protect you." Hua Rong tried her best to recommend herself. "Moreover, I'm quite beautiful, so you can look at me when you're bored. Of course, you can't do anything to me. I'll only be a bodyguard, not a whore. What do you think? Do consider hiring me. I'm a powerful 6-step Heaven Realm Master." Unable to take it anymore, Yang Kai grabbed his sword and attempted to strike her head while bellowing, "Take this." A shocked Hua Rong instinctively covered her head and leaped away. Seizing the chance, Yang Kai hastened his pace and left her behind. Watching the man leave, Hua Rong was infuriated. She gritted her teeth and raced after him. However, she wouldn't dare to go near him this time as she tailed him from a distance. After pondering on it for a moment, Jiao Ming said, "It seems that woman is determined to become your bodyguard, Alchemist Yang. It's no wonder you're unable to get rid of her." A helpless Yang Kai replied, "I can't believe there's such an unreasonable person in this world." Jiao Ming shook his head, "You might not be aware of it, but it's actually quite normal. Many Heaven Realm Masters aspire to become the bodyguards of heaven-grade alchemists. In that case, not only could their cultivation resources be guaranteed, but they also wouldn't have to worry about obtaining 100 revolutions clear heart pill once that heaven-grade alchemist manages to ascend to the spirit grade in the future. It's a clever move." Although Yang Kai was already aware of such information, he still found it inconceivable when he finally had a taste of it. Hua Rong was a powerful 6-step Heaven Realm Master, but she could be so obstinate in order to serve him. "Is that the same case for you, Guardian Jiao?" Yang Kai asked. Jiao Ming shook his head, "I'm different from them. As a blood warrior of Profound Pill Sect, I was born to protect the alchemists in the sect. When you arrive at Profound Pill Sect, you also have a right to select blood warriors to protect you. Oh, that's wonderful. Yang Kai was surprised. He then recalled that when Hua Rong saw Jiao Ming 2 days ago, she indeed mentioned the blood warriors of Profound Pill Sect. However, he wasn't bothered about it at that time. Jiao Ming went on to say, alchemists spend most of their time practicing alchemy, and they rely on pills to increase their cultivation. Therefore, they're usually not very strong. In that case, their safety can't be guaranteed when they go outside. Considering all that, our sect trains a number of blood warriors from youth. When an alchemist of our sect reaches the Earth realm, he'll have a chance to select a blood warrior, and there'll be another chance when he ascends to the heaven realm. Therefore, a heaven-grade alchemist from our sect usually has 2 blood warriors while an earth-grade alchemist has 1. Of course, besides the blood warriors from our sect, the alchemist can also hire bodyguards from outside. Nevertheless, he'll have to bear the costs of hiring one. Yang Kai was stunned by how generous Profound Pill Sect was. Just like what Jiao Ming had said, blood warriors started receiving training in the sect when they were young, so they could be said to be the disciples of the sect. The only difference was that they were trained to fight, and their loyalty wasn't a concern at all. With the protection of blood warriors, the alchemists from Profound Pill Sect could rest assured when they headed out into the world. Blood warriors were something that was familiar yet distant to Yang Kai. When he was still in the Great Han Dynasty, there was a group of blood warriors in the Yang family whose duties were about the same as those from Profound Pill Sect. Marshall Peak, Chapter 4505, Recruitment Stage. Unlike the bodyguards hired from outside, blood warriors can get a certain amount of resources from the sect every month, so we could be considered part of the sect. Moreover, Jiao Ming put on a smile at this point, we can get a lot of good stuff from the alchemists we follow, therefore, those from the Blood Warrior Hall yearn to be selected by an alchemist. Whenever an alchemist comes over to select a blood warrior, those little brats all become quite energetic. It's understandable. Yang Kai could imagine the sight, then he took a look at Hua Rong, who had been tailing them. In that case, it seems I was wrong about her. Jiao Ming said, that doesn't matter. You'd better not rashly accept any strangers. If you want a bodyguard, you can select one from the Blood Warrior Hall when we get to the sect. Yang Kai nodded gently, then suddenly recalled something. Are there spirit realm masters in the Blood Warrior Hall? Jiao Ming shook his head, no. Throughout the entire divine armament world, spirit realm masters are considered peak experts. Such people naturally wouldn't stay in the Blood Warrior Hall. However, many of the blood warriors grow with their alchemists, therefore, the bodyguards of the elders are basically all spirit realm masters. You'll find out more about it when you arrive at Profound Pill Sect. Yang Kai went on to ask more about Profound Pill Sect, and Jiao Ming replied to him honestly. The main reason was that Yang Kai didn't inquire about any secrets, so there was no need to hide anything from him. In any case, given Jiao Ming's position in the sect, he was unable to get his hands on any top secrets. Yang Kai stealthily tried to get more information about the person he claimed to be his master. However, Jiao Ming had no idea about this revered but mysterious person. The main reason was that he wasn't Jiao Xinpeng's bodyguard at that time, as he was still in the Blood Warrior Hall, so he had never come across that person. Since Yang Kai was unable to gather any useful information, he could only give up. Now, he could only play it by ear and try to make sure his lie wouldn't be exposed. He still hoped to get the pill recipe for the 100 Revolutions Clear Heart pill from Profound Pill Sect. As they moved forward at full speed, they arrived at Heavenly Marshall City 3 days later. They decided to visit Miao Hong and stayed over for one night. Miao Hong received them in a hospitable manner, and upon learning that Yang Kai was returning to his roots in Profound Pill Sect, he congratulated him. The next day, they leaped onto different horses and continued their journey. They never came across any trouble along the way. Jiao Ming was at the Peak Heaven realm, and he was from Profound Pill Sect. Naturally, no one would dare to offend him. Half a month later, they finally arrived at Profound Pill Sect. The mountains were huge and the spirit peaks were beautiful. As one of the 10 great sects in the divine armament world, Profound Pill Sect was located in a picturesque mountain range. There was a city at the bottom of a mountain that was named Profound Pill City, which was bustling with noise. According to Gao Ming, even though the city was the property of Profound Pill Sect, they didn't really mean to develop it. It was just that the city had developed into such a scale over a long time. Countless cultivators would come here every year to ask the alchemists from Profound Pill Sect to refine pills for them. Most people were unable to enter Profound Pill Sect, so they would wait at the bottom of the mountain. There wasn't a city initially, but as more people gathered together, a city was gradually formed. The city's scale then increased over time. Now, Profound Pill City was one of the largest cities in the entire divine armament world. In Profound Pill City, there were a lot of herb shops and pill shops. One could find any herbs that existed in the divine armament world in this city. Before Yang Kai even entered the city, he saw many people flying around in the sky, which greatly surprised him. He was now a Heaven Realm Master, and although he was able to fly, he would have to consume a lot of spirit chi to do so. Heaven Realm Masters usually wouldn't fly unless it was absolutely necessary. People who could fly as they pleased were Spirit Realm Masters. In other words, the people flying around before his eyes were basically all Spirit Realm Masters. These were the strongest cultivators in the divine armament world, and there was no doubt that the Spirit Realm was the goal for all Heaven Realm Masters. At the very least, Yang Kai could see a sense of yearning in Gao Ming's eyes as he gazed up at the sky. Gao Ming was now at the peak of the Heaven Realm, so with just 100 revolutions clear heart pill, he would be able to make it to the Spirit Realm. Unfortunately, Gao Shinpeng wasn't a spirit-grade alchemist yet, so he was unable to refine the pill for him. Outside Profound Pill City, there was a wide avenue that was paved with stones which led to the nearest spirit peak. Gao Ming led Yang Kai to charge forward in that direction and no one stopped them. However, Yang Kai could see many people walking on both sides of the road. Some of them appeared nervous as they were going up the mountain, while some of them appeared dejected or excited as they were going down the mountain. Although there wasn't a restriction around the avenue, there seemed to be an invisible power that ensured no one would dare to step on it. While Yang Kai and Gao Ming were moving forward, those people looked at them with envious gazes. Noticing Yang Kai's doubt, Gao Ming secretly explained, "This avenue is exclusive to the disciples of Profound Pill Sect. Those who are not our disciples are not allowed to use it. The people you see are the ones who are here to ask for alchemy services from our sect. There are so many of them." Yang Kai was shocked. Gao Ming said with a smile, "There are actually not many people today. There are days when more than twice as many people line the streets here." It was then that Yang Kai realized why those people sported different expressions. Those who got their pills were excited while those who didn't were crestfallen. The sect established the Seeking Pill Pavilion where people would go to request for pills. When you have a right to make pills in the future, you can set up a place there and get a medicine boy to be stationed there. If anybody wants you to refine pills, they will pass the necessary ingredients and compensation to your medicine boy. Yang Kai's eyes brightened when he heard that. That's interesting. Then, he turned to look in a different direction. What are those people doing there? Is that Seeking Pill Pavilion? He could see that there was a huge platform where a large group of people, both men and women of different ages, gathered together. After scanning them, Yang Kai realized that many of them were cultivators in the Earth Realm or Heaven Realm. They had occupied the corners as they either looked around vigilantly or cultivated with their legs crossed on the ground. There were several dozen to 100 of them. What bothered Yang Kai was that there were traces of blood that had turned crimson on the ground. The traces of blood were a mess, and some of them were multi-layered. Yang Kai had a feeling that many fights had taken place here before. The place was at the bottom of the mountain where Profound Pill Sect was located, so why would anyone get into a fight there? Looking over, Gao Ming explained, "That's not Seeking Pill Pavilion. That's the recruitment stage." Recruitment stage? Yang Kai frowned. What is it for? Gao Ming swept a glance over them and suddenly pulled the reins of his horse. Since we still have some time, you can take a look to find out what the place is for. Yang Kai stopped his horse beside Gao Ming and looked curiously at the recruitment stage. Just then, A young man with a blue hat walked down the mountain with his hands behind his back. Despite his young age, he looked pretty arrogant. Yang Kai felt like laughing when he saw him. However, when the cultivators on the recruitment stage saw the blue hat youth, they broke into a commotion as though a stone had been dropped into a still lake, which caused a layer of ripple to form. The blue hat youth directly shuffled towards the center of the recruitment stage and looked around with a smug expression. Seeing that all of their attention was on him, he coughed lightly and said, "My master needs to hire 2 bodyguards. He has total trust in me, so he has entrusted me to handle this matter." As soon as he finished speaking, one of them hurriedly asked, "Sir, is your master in the heaven grade or the earth grade?" The blue hat youth glared at the person who spoke as though he was blaming him for saying something unnecessary. A moment later, he reluctantly replied, "He's an earth grade alchemist for now, but I believe he'll make it to the heaven grade soon." Right after he finished his words, the eyes of many of the cultivators on the recruitment stage dimmed and soon, many cultivators left. Seeing that, the blue hat youth yelled, "Don't go. I said that my master will make it to the heaven grade very soon. By then, you'll be the bodyguards of a heaven grade alchemist. It's not every day you get such a chance. If you don't seize it now, you'll regret it in the future." Regardless of what he said, those who were determined to leave had stepped down from the recruitment stage. About half of the cultivators were left. Yang Kai could clearly see that the people who left were all in the heaven realm while the ones who stayed were in the earth realm. He had a speculation about the use of the recruitment stage, so he gazed at Gao Ming and asked, "Is it a place where alchemists hire bodyguards?" Gao Ming nodded, "That's right. Besides the blood warriors assigned to them, alchemists can also hire their own bodyguards, and there isn't a limit in number. Of course, the prerequisite is that they have enough money to employ them." Did the Heaven Realm Masters leave because they think an Earth-grade alchemist wouldn't have enough money to pay them? That's one of the reasons. Another thing is these Heaven Realm Masters treasure their dignity, and it's reasonable that they want to follow at least a Heaven-grade alchemist. They wouldn't be able to get over it if they followed Earth-grade alchemists. Yang Kai nodded to mean that he got it. The blue hat youth was haughty when he came, but at this moment, he appeared dispirited. While standing in the center of the recruitment stage, he let out a sigh. One of the Earthrealm Masters asked, "Sir, what are your master's requirements when selecting bodyguards?" "Requirements?" The blue hat youth looked up at the sky as though he was bored, then he grinned, "There aren't really any special requirements. Why don't all of you fight against each other? I'll select the people I prefer and bring you to see my master. Perhaps my master will hire some of you." The demand was boorish, but the Earthrealm Masters seemed to have directly accepted it, so the person who asked the question nodded, understood. At that instant, the atmosphere around the recruitment stage became tense. Everyone, regardless of their age or gender, gazed vigilantly at the people around them. It seemed that a scuffle was about to take place. It was then Yang Kai realized why there were so many traces of blood on the recruitment stage. A scuffle could be ignited when it was just an Earth-grade alchemist who tried to hire bodyguards, so nothing need be said about a Heaven-grade alchemist. This situation was clearly quite common in this place. "Let's go." Yang Kai wasn't in the mood to watch such a farce. He pulled the reins and beckoned to Gao Ming, after which the two of them continued moving forward. Soon, the noises of battle could be heard coming from behind them. Marshall Peak, Chapter 4506, Seeking Pill Pavilion. With Gao Ming leading the way, Yang Kai soon arrived at the spirit peak nearest to them. It was supposed to be the reception peak of Profound Pill Sect as there was a reception palace located here. Upon his arrival, Yang Kai was led by a maidservant to a room to get some rest. Gao Ming stated, "Please wait here, Alchemist Yang. I've sent a message to Sir, and he'll be here soon." Yang Kai nodded gently, "Many thanks." Gao Ming cupped his fist and turned around to leave. Yang Kai was left in the room to wait patiently. 1 hour later, Gao Shinpeng was still nowhere to be seen. Since Yang Kai was bored, he decided to leave this room and take a stroll. The maidservant followed him closely. Yang Kai took a glance at her but didn't mind it. After all, he was unfamiliar with this place as he had just arrived, so it would be good to have someone to guide him and answer his questions if he got lost. The reception peak was in the periphery of Profound Pill Sect. Yang Kai wasn't surprised that he was told to stay here. After all, he wasn't a disciple of Profound Pill Sect yet, so he didn't have the right to enter the inner area. The view on the reception peak was splendid as the buildings were finely built, and there was ample world energy. After taking a stroll for half a day, Yang Kai returned to the guest room. Gao Xinpeng happened to arrive at this point. Junior brother Yang, I'm sorry for making you wait for such a long time. Gao Xinpeng was still as passionate as ever. It so happened that it was my turn to teach today. I was giving a lesson on alchemy to the juniors, which was why I was held up. It's fine, senior brother. I didn't really wait for long. Yang Kai put on a smile and invited him to have a seat. Gao Xinpeng took a glance at him and nodded. You're a Heaven Realm master now, junior brother Yang. Yang Kai replied with a smile, it's thanks to the high-rank 10 revolutions clear heart pill you gave me, senior brother. Gao Xinpeng waved his hand, even without that pill, you still would have broken through successfully. After all, your aptitude is extraordinary. All of a sudden, his expression turned solemn. I'm sure Jiao Ming told you about the reason you were asked to come here. Yang Kai nodded. All my alchemy skills come from Profound Pill Sect. Although I don't have a title, I'm still a disciple of Profound Pill Sect. That's right, Gao Xinpeng gently knocked on the table. The thing is, when I returned to the sect previously, I reported your matter to the higher-ups. They take this matter very seriously. After all, it has something to do with that person. That's why they told me to invite you to this place. However, before that, there'll be a test to find out whether you've really inherited the alchemy skills from Profound Pill Sect. A test? Yang Kai arched his brow. What is it about? Gao Xinpeng replied with a smile. Don't worry, junior brother. They'll just be asking you to refine a 10 revolutions clear heart pill. The pill recipe you possess is the best proof. Some of the higher-ups will also observe the test. You'll just have to perform as usual by then. Of course, they may ask you some questions, but I'm sure that won't be a problem for you. The last part was actually what Yang Kai was most worried about. There wouldn't be a problem if he was only asked to refine the 10 revolutions clear heart pill. After all, he had stolen the pill recipe from Gao Xinpeng, so there wouldn't be any mistakes. However, he wouldn't be able to explain himself if he was asked to talk about that person. The only things he knew were that the master was an old person with an extra finger on one hand. Although he felt helpless, Yang Kai didn't show any distress on his face and simply asked, when will the test be held? It's up to the higher-ups, but I believe it will be held within a few days. You have to get prepared. I'll inform you when there's any news about it. Gao Xinpeng seemed to have other matters to attend to as he rose from the chair upon finishing his words. Since you've come all the way here, I'm supposed to treat you to a meal. However, I'm truly busy today, so I'll get back to you on that. Not to worry, I'll prepare a proper banquet for you at a later time. Yang Kai got up and saw him off. Please attend to your matters since you're busy, senior brother. I can take care of myself. Good, then I'll take my leave now. After Gao Xinpeng finished his words, he left the place in a hurry. Yang Kai followed him to the door, then turned around and sat down to get some rest. A night passed in silence. The next day, Yang Kai waited for half a day but there still wasn't any news, and he didn't have any resources with him to cultivate. Since he was bored, he decided to take a walk. After taking a stroll around the reception peak though, he was still quite bored. Therefore, he found the maidservant and asked, "Will it be all right if I go down the mountain?" The maidservant saluted him in an elegant manner. Alchemist Gao has said that sir is free to do whatever you want. Just make sure to come back every night. Oh, there won't be a problem, then, Yang Kai said and walked down the mountain. When he was going up the mountain alongside Gao Ming previously, he only took a glance at the recruitment stage but didn't pay attention to the view along the way. As he walked down the mountain now, Yang Kai realized that the moving clouds were rather soothing. Upon reaching the middle of the mountain, he saw many people mulling around. The people who were supposed to be asking for pills from the bottom of the mountain were streaming in that direction. As he recalled Gao Ming's words, Yang Kai soon realized that this was around where Seeking Pill Pavilion was located, the place where outsiders came to request alchemy services. A curious young Kai shuffled towards Seeking Pill Pavilion as he listened to the people talking among themselves. As he continued moving forward, a huge palace soon came into his sight. There was a stone monument in front of the palace on which the characters Seeking Pill Pavilion were carved into it. Young Kai was startled for a moment. When he heard about Seeking Pill Pavilion previously, he thought that it would be a small pavilion. It wasn't until this moment that he realized he had underestimated the wealth of Profound Pill Sect. The huge palace before him could easily accommodate several hundred to 1,000 people. As he followed the crowd inside, young Kai saw that the main hall was crammed with people, as though it was a big market. Although there were many people, they were not rowdy at all. The cultivators tactfully kept their mouths shut. Even if they had to talk, they would do so in small voices. The first thing young Kai could see were long lines of people that looked like dragons. There were many desks around the corners of the main hall, and behind every desk sat a young man or woman with a blue hat. Their outfits were about the same as the one the young man who had appeared on the recruitment stage some time ago was wearing, so young Kai supposed they were medicine boys and girls of Profound Pill Sect. A sign was hung in front of every desk that looked like a name. Young Kai reckoned that those were the names of the alchemists. There was a line of people in front of every desk, even though there were some desks where fewer people queued up. There was also a round counter facing the entrance of the main hall. Behind the counter stood 8 maidservants who were scattered around. Some people would come over to ask them some questions, and upon getting the directions, they would leave. The maidservants behind the counter were busy as there was never a lack of people asking questions. "Alchemist Yang," someone suddenly called out. Young Kai turned to look in that direction and felt helpless. "You really followed me all the way here." The person standing in front of him was Hua Rong. Young Kai couldn't believe that the woman had tailed him all the way here from Void Spirit Sword Sect. He wasn't sure how she got to this place, but she appeared to be covered in travel dust. "I knew you'd come to Profound Pill Sect. I was just wondering how I could look for you when I bumped into you here. Don't you think we're fated to meet again?" Hua Rong looked smilingly at him. Young Kai replied in a perfunctory manner, right. You think so too? I totally share the same sentiment. Since fate has brought us together, why don't you take me on as your bodyguard? I can fend off your enemies for you." As she spoke, she looked longingly at the man. "There's no need for that." Young Kai waved his hand. "I'll get a blood warrior from Profound Pill Sect soon. I don't need to hire a bodyguard." "Well, don't reject me so soon. Although a blood warrior is good, he might not be to your liking. I'm different." "How are you different?" Young Kai found the woman funny. After giving it a thought, Hua Rong replied willfully, "Anyway, I'm different. By the way, what are you doing here?" "I have nothing to do right now, so I'm here to look around." "Let's go together then." Hua Rong chuckled and followed Young Kai closely. Realizing that it was the first time Young Kai came to this place, she took the initiative to explain, "The people who seek pills have to go through those ladies." She pointed at the 8 maidservants behind the counter. "There are many alchemists in Profound Pill Sect who are in the Earth grade, Heaven grade, and even Spirit grade, but there are different experts in different fields. The pills that the alchemists are good at making vary quite a bit. Therefore, the people who have come to seek pills have to find out which alchemist will have the best chance of successfully refining what they want by judging from the amount of pills they've produced before. Those maidservants will give them some information regarding that." Young Kai nodded. "I can see that." After observing for a bit just now, Young Kai quickly realized what the maidservants were there for. Just like what Hua Rong had said, every alchemist was an expert in a different field of study. Those who sought pills naturally wanted to look for the alchemists who were most adept at making the pills they wanted. This place is divided into 3 areas, which are Earth, Heaven, and Spirit. They correspond to Earth-grade alchemists, Heaven-grade alchemists, and Spirit-grade alchemists. The people behind the desks are their medicine boys or girls, and the signs in front of the desks are the names of the alchemists. Hence, those who seek pills can easily find the alchemists they want. "By the way, when will you be setting up a place here? You don't necessarily have to hire me to be your bodyguard." I can even be your medicine girl. This idea suddenly sprang into Hua Rong's mind. There's not a single medicine girl in the six-step heaven realm in the entire profound pill sect. What do you think? Are you familiar with alchemy? Yang Kai asked. No, Hua Rong directly denied. How can you be a medicine girl when you're not familiar with alchemy? I'll learn as long as you're willing to teach me, Hua Rong said, matter-of-factly. Yang Kai helplessly shook his head. However, at this point, he realized that jobs in Seeking Pill Pavilion were clearly divided, which was convenient for the people who sought pills. Regardless of who they were, they could easily find their targets. Of course, it took time to make pills, and it depended on their luck whether they could get the pills they wanted, as an alchemist wouldn't necessarily succeed every time he or she refined pills. There was always a chance of failure. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.